Starting in three, two, one. Here we go. KB. Yes, dude. Thank you so much for being here.
Stoked to be here, man. I like the hoodie, by the way. I just noticed it.
Yeah, I was gonna like
Represent.
I was gonna walk in this backwards and yeah. Do you know how I got this hoodie?
Man, I'm trying to think back. I don't think it would have. I don't know if you've never been to a TPE meetup, right?
No, I wish.
So it had to be that you won it on my Twitch stream.
There you go. Yep. Easter.
Maybe. When was it?
Easter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like I don't know, a couple Easters ago you were drawing I don't even know how it was. You were like drawing random names and then you would pick a number and that would be the Easter egg that you picked.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. That was actually my wife's idea. She's like, "Why don't you buy those little plastic eggs and put a gift in each one?" And I'm like, "You're a genius. I will do that."
That was a lot of fun.
I forgot all about that. I was gonna guess that it was one of my charity streams because I usually give away a lot of stuff on that particular night. But yes, Easter makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I didn't even introduce you. We just started BSing, man. This is really cool for me, by the way. I like if someone would have told me 4 or 5 years ago that I was going to get the one-on-one talk with you for a podcast or something, that would have been like made my day.
Now the pressure's on. I can't disappoint.
No, you're good. You're not going to disappoint. Um, like I'm a big fan of like your podcast. Like before you start, I think I don't know. I haven't been in many streams lately, but you probably remember that I was in yours pretty early on.
Yeah, I definitely do recall
And
that.
I was Rural Route 23.
Yeah.
Um, I found like I was listening to your podcasts way before you started those streams, like those TPE live podcasts. Those
Yeah.
Dude, those are some of my favorite podcasts, like of all different kinds of podcasts. I loved listening to those. Those were just so awesome, like and authentic.
Yeah, those are some of my favorite ones to do. Like the regular TPE podcast and the Mid Stakes Living podcast, which has kind of been retired, are both like a lot of fun, but they're also a lot of work. Like as you know, right? Like preparation time and editing and uploading and writing descriptions and all the stuff that goes into it. But the TPE live ones, which for people who aren't familiar, and most people probably aren't. In fact, we didn't do any this summer, so
I know
they're
I was
essentially.
so disappointed. I was
I
so
know.
disappointed.
Yeah, so they're basically just like we just hit the record button and just start talking about what happened that day. Usually, it's done at the World Series of Poker, and we'll just talk about like what happened, how did we bust, interesting hands, what's been going on for the last couple of days, who got drunk last night, who passed out, and it's so much fun to do because I literally just record it and I do add a song like an intro at the beginning, but then I just upload it. I never edit anything. I don't even make like fancy titles or anything. It's just like literally, Derek plays the Millionaire Maker or whatever, and that's like the title. Like I don't even get tricky with it. But I missed doing them this year, and there are a lot of factors that went into not doing them, and I won't bore people with the whole story because we'll probably get into some of this. But essentially, I moved to Las Vegas, and it kind of ruined everything. It just kind of ruined everything, which you'd think it would have made it easier to do more stuff. But living in a house with my dogs and my wife, as opposed to living in a house with six dudes talking poker every day, just limited the content output capability. So, but it'll be back next year for sure, or maybe sooner even.
Yeah, I love like just the rawness of it. I liked like I found out the TPE live because I first started listening to your tournament poker podcasts. I've been listening to podcast. That's how I got started a podcast was poker podcasts from there was one I think you're kind of like a podcast OG, right?
Yeah.
I used
It,
to listen to one from way back. I think it was Pocket Fives, a Pocket Fives podcast.
okay. Yeah.
I don't do you remember that? I mean, that was like probably
Yes.
2005 or something like that.
Yeah. It was strange. I got into poker podcasts pretty early on, just because I was trying to consume as much poker content as I could. And for some reason, there was a Pocket Fives podcast, and I never listened to it. And to this day, I don't think I've heard a single episode of it. For me, I listened weekly to the 2+2 Poker Cast,
Yeah, that's
and
a
then there was another big one back then called Poker Road that was awesome. Um, And apparently some of those episodes have started to resurface on YouTube and stuff because they had all disappeared like completely from iTunes and stuff like that. But that was the podcast that really made me want to do a poker podcast. Aside from the fact that I wanted to use it to market Tournament Poker Edge, I just liked that because what got me really into poker and what really got me to launch TPE was the community aspect of poker, not so much like winning and losing, mostly losing. Um, so when I heard that, it was kind of that sort of like we were talking about with TPE Live. It was a very like free form, like laid back. It wasn't real like strict editing and the same format every week and stuff like that. It was just like a bunch of dudes talking about poker, and I was like, that's what I want to do.
I think
Um,
when a lot of people think, at least when I think, like I want to do one of these big trips to Vegas, one of the World Series events, and just come out there. I think like that's the dream for a lot of people. It's not, there's like multiple dreams, right? There's like the dream of winning the main event and, or just even cashing in any event, really. But the real dream and the cool thing you look forward to is getting your boys together for a couple of weeks or whatever and just hanging out and just that camaraderie and just drinking and having a good time and just like living life like it's supposed to be for a little bit and just doing something out of the ordinary and like
yeah,
living it up.
totally. I mean, it's so funny you say that because so I started TPE when I was probably 30. I guess I would have been about 37. And I remember reading all these stories or hearing from friends in the poker world and stuff about, oh yeah, we're going to Vegas and me and these four guys are renting a house and it's got a pool and a pool table and a hot tub and they would just tell these amazing stories. And I was like, frankly, really jealous because at this point I was married, I had a career, had a kid. I mean, I still have all those things, but I had a day job, quote unquote day job. And I was like, man, I'm never going to get to do that. There's no, like, how is that ever going to happen in my life? Like, I'm 37, I have a full-time job, got a kid to raise. Like, there's no way that I can ever go to my wife and say, honey, I'm going to Vegas for 2 months. See you when I get back.
Right, right.
And then when we started TPE, the idea came of actually doing that. We're like, well, why don't we get a TPE house out in Vegas and we'll all live together and we'll make videos and write blogs and make podcasts and do all that stuff. And I remember pitching it to my wife and she was like, that sounds like a really good time. You should go do that.
Wow.
I was like, oh, now I remember why I married you. I'll keep you.
I was gonna say uh like this is inside baseball, like just from like watching your stream and your podcast and stuff. It seems like you've got like a pretty awesome situation, like a pretty badass wife to put up with your stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she's pretty amazing. I don't like I it's always feels weird to like heap praise on her or I guess anyone you're like married to or related to because it's sort of like that. Well, of course you're gonna say your wife's awesome. You know what I mean? But I've gone to Vegas somewhere between a month and 2 months of every summer for the last 7 years. And not only have I never heard, oh, you shouldn't go this year or don't go as long this year, I've actually had the opposite where I'll be sitting there like reading updates on Twitter, like of WSOP events, like maybe I'm not leaving for 4 or 5 days and I'm reading like the day one updates from the very first tournament. And she's like, why don't you just go already? Like, why are you still here?
That's
You're,
awesome,
you're just
man.
going to sit on the couch and read updates anyway. Get it. I'm sure you can change your plane ticket. And she supports the streaming and the fact that I play poker and yeah, she's really cool that way. I don't really know how I got that lucky, but thankful.
You are probably not only from the most amount of topics or people, like you've probably been brought up on my podcast more times than anybody else. I don't know if you're aware of that.
Really? Wow, that's cool. I was actually watching the Bet on Drew one today for a little while. I can't remember if it was before or after I was watching the live one, but I've yet to hear my name, so I need to obviously scour the episodes.
I'm not asking you. There's a lot of there's a lot of hours out there. I wouldn't ask anybody to scour. TS, like I've just brought you up, or someone's brought you up. Like I've talked about you quite a bit. It's borderline probably stalking.
Hey, that's okay. I'll take it. It's better than nobody caring about me.
Yeah. Like I've really liked watching your, career is not the right word. Your presence, if you will, internet presence.
Sure.
Maybe that's a good. I've really enjoyed watching that blossom.
Yeah.
It's been quite the community you've been growing, and it's been really cool watching this evolution, if you will.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's something I actually was just thinking about this yesterday, very oddly. Um, a long time ago, or it seems like a long time ago, I remember seeing this quote, and I believe it was from Gary Vaynerchuk, but I could be wrong about that. And it was something to the extent of like, in this day and age, every one of us is a brand, like whether we want to be or not. Like if you're involved at all in social media or any kind of content creation, or even if you're just like a CFO at a company, but you have a LinkedIn page, you are by default a brand. And I remember hearing or reading that and saying, "Wow, that's really cool." And I loved brand building. You know, I come from a marketing background. I loved doing that for record companies and bands when I worked in the music industry. I loved doing it for TPE, and I was like, well, if I'm a brand, why am I not spending any time building my own brand as a person, you know? So even if I were to go from poker into the beer business or the beer business into Twitch streaming or whatever, I can parlay that brand into growing whatever the next thing is. So that's when I really kind of like the light bulb went off and I was like, you know, I'm going to start trying to get more active in not just podcasting, but the Twitch streaming on Instagram, on Twitter, Facebook, etc. And it's just something I continue to try to do. And I'm not an expert or a pro at it, but I enjoy that process almost more than I enjoy the results of that process, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like like I love looking at my Twitch page and going, oh, I have 2 new followers today. You know, I got them overnight and I wasn't even streaming or whatever. I'm like, that's cool. Like, how did that happen? Like, what was the interconnectivity of all the things that I've done that made those 2 people show up and hit the follow button? You know, so yeah, I enjoy that stuff. It's cool to me.
Yeah, I'm a jackass like that too. Like I'll check like I try not to check it all the time because I don't want to be obsessed about
Right.
checking my numbers, but like I'll sometimes go a couple days without it just to see what it is, but for the most part I'll check the numbers and it's like I keep seeing it rise and I'm like, "Oh, if I should just get one more view, that means I get an extra that would make it an average extra 1 view per week."
Right.
Like, it's like, "Oh, that'd be aw" like, yeah, you just see these incremental little increases, and it's just
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun to watch, yeah.
The stuff, honestly, the thing I'm most addicted to is the podcast numbers, which is surprising because I've gotten pretty lax on doing podcasts, but I still look at them all the time. But the number within those numbers that I'm so most fascinated with is to look at all the different countries where the listens are coming
Oh, yeah,
from.
that's fun, right? It's like, how is somebody in Australia listening to me?
Yeah. I'm like, wow, there's somebody. I mean, you'll just like, I mean, literally every country. I'm like, how is somebody in Iran listening to my podcast right now?
Wow.
You know, it's like,
Military base, right?
yeah, there we go. So yeah, if you're out there and you're from Iran, let me know where you heard of me at. I'd love to know.
Yeah, no kidding. If you're especially if you're, non-American, that'd be very interesting.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah, you've been at the podcast game for quite a while. Like, how did you so you, you just did it as a branding kind of idea? I'm going to start podcasting and that's like the motivation was branding?
Yeah, it was pretty much just a way to market like it was a free way to market TPE. In fact, in I can't remember the decision making process, but I kind of feel like back then I would literally do things like Google free ways to market your online business or whatever, you know, and you'd find all these like 10 ways to 10 free ways to market your business. I'd find all these articles and I would read them and
How
you know
long ago was this?
this would have been so the first podcast launched, I think maybe 6 months after TPE launched. So it would have been about 7.5 years ago, or maybe about 8 years ago.
That's pretty OG. Is like the
Yeah.
podcast world. That's quite a long time ago.
Yeah, and there weren't, like I said, there weren't a ton. There were basically 2 that I listened to. I don't remember if the P5s one started before or after us, but for sure the 2 big ones were Poker Road and 2+2, and that was really about it. And I was like, well, there seems to be like a niche here. Let's just kind of go for it and see what happens. And of course, now there's, I don't even know, like probably 100 poker podcasts or
You think
something.
there's that many?
Maybe I think maybe if you add in like every like YouTube podcast and all the I guess maybe active podcasts, there might not be 100. But I bet if you search poker podcasts, you'd find at least 100 that have come and gone or are still active,
Right.
I
Yeah,
would
there's
say.
definitely a lot out there. Do you still listen to do you listen to poker podcasts?
Nowadays, I pretty much listen to one. So I was still hit or miss on the 2+2 podcast. I would catch it like once a month, whereas
That's
they put
the
out.
that's the one that's out of Canada, right? It's like 3 hours long.
Yeah. And it got
Uh
to be, and I still loved the podcast, but it
Chan,
got to be a little like
Chan with
news heavy.
Terrence Chan and
Yeah.
oh
And
yeah, that's
Adam.
yeah, I listened to that for a long time. That's probably the best one out there, right? That's like the top of the pyramid.
I would say it's the biggest, yeah.
Yeah.
But although they just canceled it, or they just announced that they're not doing it anymore. Um,
No.
they made sure to say like this doesn't mean it's gone forever, or it might come back in a different with different hosts or whatever. But for now, it's off the air. Um,
Wow. That
so
was a huge pot. That's a
yeah,
huge pot. I imagine that's like the biggest one out there. That's like huge.
yeah, I got to think it's the big. I think I remember reading somewhere. I could have this number wrong, and I probably do, to be honest. But I remember they interviewed Howard Lederer at one point, and I think I read somewhere that that episode got something like a 500,000 listens or something, which is
Oh,
insane.
easily. I believe it'd be easily that. I
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprised by that at all.
Yeah, when you think of how many, I mean, of all the guests and stories that you could have on a podcast that's going to bring in that number of listeners, it's that exact person, at that exact time when everything
That
was going down with Full Tilt Poker and stuff.
that's one of them, absolutely for sure. Who's
Yeah.
yeah, I said I loved all of your podcasts. Well, how come the one retired? Is that should I not bring that up? Is that a bad faux pas?
No, not at all. It
Mid
was
stakes living. I loved mid stakes living. That's been off for like a year now, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we
Yeah.
did. I think we did maybe 20 to 25 episodes or something like that. And it was me and my friend Matt Hunt, who's also a instructor over at TPE. And it was at the time when we first stopped doing it, it was mostly just complicated because he lived in the UK, I lived in America. So time zone made it complicated. And then also you throw in the factor of I had just kind of started working with this beer company, kind of doing that on the side. So my schedule got really busy, and then he started to prepare to move to America, which is where he's at now. And basically, just life got in the way, and we were like, well, let's just take a month or two off, And then a month or two turned into 3 or 4, and then the World Series was here, and then we're like, well, maybe after the World Series, we'll throw some episodes together. And at some point, we just had a conversation. We're like, let's just kind of chill. I think I went to him and said, if you want, you can continue to do it on your own
Okay.
because I think it had gotten more to the point where I was holding it back than he was.
Okay.
So I said, if you just want to do it on your own, and he said, well, let me think about it. And he didn't really like that idea from a dynamics standpoint. He just felt like it would be weird to go from both of us hosting it to having one host. So he just said,
Oh, I think that would have worked out. I just like it's the
yeah,
concept, it's the whole concept.
yeah. I think it would have been fine. It might have just been that, and I don't want to speak for it, but he might have just been nervous about like the technology side. Like maybe just didn't feel comfortable like doing all the recording, or maybe he wasn't confident that he could drive the conversation as well. Who knows? But or he might have just been sick of doing it. That's also
Sure.
a possibility.
Yeah.
So I do think that will probably come back someday. I know that the TPE podcast is going to be coming back in more full swing soon. We just did an episode actually about 3 days ago.
I saw that. Yeah.
So that's out, and you'll start to see more episodes from us on that front. And then I have an idea for a podcast that I might do on my own. Basically completely on my own with no guests, no co-hosts or anything.
Oh shit. Let's hear it.
Well, I'll talk about it. So I'm not going to say the name because I don't want anybody to steal my name for the podcast.
That's how I was with podcast. Like you get a name and you're like, ooh, it's like a squirrel hiding his nuts.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
no,
exactly.
This is mine. I can't tell you. It's my precious.
Yeah. It's not like it's a completely like mind-blowing creative name or anything, but just to be.
It doesn't matter what the name is. Let's hear the concept.
Yeah. So basically, like I find myself about once a week, which is kind of what made me think of the idea of doing a podcast. About once a week, something happens in the poker world that I'll either like hit my friends up on Skype, or I'll bring it up on Twitch, or I'll like text my buddies and go, "Did you see what that idiot said about this?" Or "Can you believe that happened at the World Series this summer?" Or,
Can I ask about one?
Sure.
So first of all, you do know that like my podcast is completely random all the time. This isn't poker centric, right?
Right.
So there'll be a lot of people that won't know some of the stuff we're talking about.
That's true. Sorry.
Is one no, don't apologize at all. I love where we're going. Is one of the things you're talking about is Prahlad Friedman?
Well, that's a very good example of something that I would talk about. Like when
Yeah.
he made that tweet, which I don't know if you want to go into.
I almost got him on the podcast. We went back and forth on Twitter, and we I almost got
Uh,
him.
yeah. So yeah, it's just like a lot of things like that, or like like so it doesn't sound like you've been playing a ton of poker lately, but ACR poker has been having like some issues with DDoS attacks and the site
Always,
going.
always.
Yeah, and like the site goes down for an hour or whatever, and I so you see all these Twitter exchanges about it and people arguing back and forth, and I'm always like, man, I wish I kind of want to say what I'm thinking about it, but I don't really feel like typing for an hour, and I don't feel like
Right.
writing a blog, and so anyway, my idea is to basically do a podcast where I rant about something for 20 to 30 minutes, whatever's going on in my mind related to poker that week. And it could be, I mean, it could be like a big news story or a big happening, or it could just be like something about, how you need to improve your mindset if you're going to be
Okay.
a successful poker player, or just basically whatever's on my mind that week. So I'm trying to think like, what would it be? I'm trying to think if there's anything this week where I'm like, wow, did you see that? And I can't think of anything, but like maybe I'd rant about Colin Kaepernick or something. I don't know, even though that's not poker related. But like that kind of news story where it's like the trending topic,
I
basically.
like it, man. I love it. I Killingbird's Corner. I mean, you already
Yeah,
have a name,
yeah,
but yeah, that'd be awesome.
yeah. In fact, now that I say trending topics, it kind of gives me an interesting idea, which you could just take the highest trending poker topic on Twitter
Are
and
there's that
make
many
that the week.
there's that many poker things that come up every week that you can rant 20 minutes. Like I don't follow the poker world a ton anymore right now. Like I go in spurts, but right now you're right. I haven't been deep in the poker world as
Yeah.
of late. But weekly, there really is. I guess
I,
it's a big enough community.
yeah, I think the question is, would there be enough things that I cared about enough to talk about that week? Because I would say there's always some. I mean, there's always the most talked about thing that week, whether it's very talked about or not talked about much, but there's always the most talked about thing. So if you picked that topic, I guess it would be cool. But I don't care about most of this stuff, So if it's like, oh, this casino down in Oklahoma canceled their tournament series and they're not refunding the players satellite money, or like, I don't care about that enough.
Oh yeah, that's not really a thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I would just be like, well, okay, everybody's talking about that right now, but I'm not going to rant about that because I'm not there and I don't know the details and I just don't care enough to deal with it. But if there was some big happening, like somebody getting kicked, like I don't know, maybe when like here's probably a good example, which won't make sense to non-poker players, but
That's all right. We'll bring them along.
yeah,
We got this.
like when Chris Ferguson won Player of the Year at the World
Jesus.
Series, yeah, Chris Jesus Ferguson, who
He can throw a playing card really fast through a watermelon.
yes,
Look out, guys.
yeah. But he's a very controversial figure, and most people hate his guts. But he won 2017 Player of the Year. So this year is the year where they raised his 2008, or the summer was the summer where they raised his 2018 Player of the Year banner.
Right.
And everybody was talking about, oh, is everybody going to boo? Are they going to like curse him out when he's up there like accepting the award or whatever? Like, what are people going to say to him in the hallways when he's walking? Like, that is kind of a good example of something that I would probably talk about for 10, 15, 20 minutes and just
Even longer. That's a pretty big topic.
yeah, yeah, that's a long story.
Well,
And one thing I thought about is that I didn't want to get to a point where I was doing a newscast. So I didn't want it to be like, here's the background on the Full Tilt story, and here's who Chris Ferguson is, and here are all the details, and here's how much money was taken, and here's when the government refunded. I didn't want to get into that. I just wanted to be like, okay, fucking Chris.
for those of you that know, like, so it's going to be geared towards the people that are kind of already knowledgeable in the poker world
Yeah,
to be tuning in.
right.
Okay.
And in a way, it might be the first time where I do a podcast where I don't really care that much how many people hear it, because all I really want to do is kind of like get some things off my chest, like things that I would probably spend some time talking about to my friends and viewers and stuff. But this will just save me time and make it really easy. And I can be like, hey,
I like
for
it.
for the 50 of you who care what I think about this topic, here's the podcast this week. Check it out.
That's what I've said about this podcast. I don't care how many people are watching it or listening to it. I'm just doing it because it's fun to do. And
Yeah.
when I get as few views and listens, I have to say that.
Hey, they all start somewhere.
No, it's grown. It's fairly respectable. it's no TPE numbers, but I'm coming after you, big boy.
We're waiting. We're waiting.
Yeah. Let me just pour this beer here. What I love
Nice.
about there's so many things I love about you. No homo is that your love of beer. I mean, that was one of the like I'm obviously a big time beer snob. And
Yeah, we've
how
always
long
had
have
that in common.
yeah how long have you been into craft beer? Do you remember kind of anything that brought you towards that?
I guess it was probably, it's funny. Like a lot of people will say, like, what was your first craft beer, or what was the beer that got you into craft? And I don't remember. I kind of remember like, so
Good answer.
I was always a whiskey drinker. Like I didn't even really drink. Like I wasn't one of those guys who drank in high school. I didn't really drink in college till probably my junior year when I joined a band, and then I went off the deep end. But I was a whiskey drinker
Oh,
until
hold on. The stereotype of band, is that for real? Like band is like some freaks and some partiers and like they get down.
pretty much. For most, I mean, I guess there's probably many exceptions, but I mean, I was in a band that was basically like 80s hair metal influenced. So, like, you just grew up watching like Nikki Sixx on stage with a bottle of Jack Daniels. So, as soon as you were old enough to play guitar and drink Jack Daniels, that's what you did.
Right on. Okay. I didn't mean to cut you off, but
No, that's okay. So, yeah, so I was always a whiskey drinker, and sometime it must have been like 2005 or something. I think I ordered a beer, but ordered I didn't really like beer, so I decided to get something kind of different. And I don't think it was very different. Like I think it was like a Sam Adams or something. You know what I mean? But in my mind, it wasn't a Bud Light.
that's
It
funny.
wasn't.
That
It
is
wasn't a
that.
Coors Light.
Yeah, that would be when I was in the serving industry, and I was in I was at Red Lobster, and they didn't have shit for craft brew. It was like Amber Bock or something else. But
Right.
I think we had Sam Adams, and if it was somebody that was like, "Oh, I don't really want beer" or whatever, I was like, "Try that. This is a little different." So I'll be the Sam Adams because that's a very good like training wheels different beer.
Exactly. Yeah. And that kind of got me moving in that direction. And then I kind of knew that craft beer existed, but I do recall. I wonder if this was my first craft beer. So I went hiking with my dad in Montana.
Oh
And
man,
after we were up in the mountains for like 5 or 6 days, and we were driving. So on our way out, we were driving down, and we were like, "Man, I can't wait to get like, you know, some food and a drink because all we had was water, right, for like the last 5 days." So we're driving out of this area in Montana called Red Lodge, Montana, and we passed a brewery called Red Lodge Brewing, and we were like, they probably have burgers. Let's go in there. And we pulled in, and of course, it was a brewery, so you couldn't buy Bud Light or whatever. You had to get whatever beer they were making.
got to get real
Um,
beer. Yeah,
yeah, so that very well could have been my first beer or craft beer, but I don't remember for sure. But I didn't really get serious about it until I moved to Raleigh, where there's a big craft beer scene. There's probably 60, 70 breweries in the Raleigh area.
wow.
And it's kind of one of those things where once you're there, you can't help but be engulfed in it. You get sucked into it almost without, it's like the tractor beam on the Death Star or something. It's like craft beer over here. And
That's a really good culture to get sucked into.
yeah, for sure. And I fell in love with it immediately, like much faster than I fell in love with the poker world. Like I dug the entrepreneurship aspect of it. I dug obviously the taste and flavor of craft beer. I loved the people that hang out at brewery. Like I know like craft beer fans get this like this stereotype of being like pretentious hipsters, and all this stuff. But I never really felt that way. Like I met like all the people I met in craft breweries are all like young people working at startup companies and stuff like that, which I guess could be considered hipster. But um, and then I started brewing like just basic home brewing. I think my wife got me like a homebrew kit for Christmas or something, like a $75 homebrew kit. And that's kind of when I was like, okay, I want to like learn this for real, like I want to study it, get to know it. Um, and yeah, and I got to the point where all I would do is just go search for beer to buy things I'd never had and try it. And I've been addicted, maybe literally addicted, but also addicted for ever since then.
Are IPAs your favorite?
They are, although I definitely go through, uh, sort of seasonal changes as you will with craft beer. So like,
Right.
it's gonna start getting cool pretty soon. So I'll move into stout mode here pretty soon.
Right.
Um, and I do enjoy a good pumpkin beer, so those will be rolling out pretty soon
Oh,
too.
do you?
Um, my problem is that I don't really like, even though there are craft brewers making some really good light beers, like lagers and pilsners and wheat beers and things like that. That's the stuff I don't really like. So
I
I
don't
like
like it
really
either.
bold,
Yeah.
heavy stuff. So stouts, porters, triples, IPAs, things like that. So even when summertime comes around, I don't really go into like summer shandy mode or anything.
Those are disgusting. Those are for college girls.
Yeah, I know a lot of a lot of my beer friends, like when as soon as summer rolls around, it's like, okay, Bell's Oberon or like whatever other like
Right.
light wheat drinkable beer comes around, and I just never really move into that mode. So IPAs are basically my
That's
summer beer.
that's my summer beer too. That's a
Yeah.
light, crispy. You can see through it almost.
Yeah. And I might get like I might get like a session IPA if I'm going out on the boat or to the beach or something so that I'm not completely plastered halfway through the day.
Right.
But I'll almost never get like I said, like a wheat or a Hefeweizen or anything. I need more flavor.
How about sours? Do you like sours?
I've started to get more and more into sours, especially because there's a bar here in Vegas called Aces and Ales, and they have a really good beer menu. They have 50 taps and then a bunch of stuff in bottles, and they have a ton of sours. So I've been trying more and more, but it's definitely the area like sours and like gozas and stuff like that. That's like where I have the least knowledge, especially because the brewery that I worked with didn't do any sours. So I don't know a lot about the brewing process behind those or you know, I could taste a sour and go, I like that, but I couldn't talk about the flavor profile like the way I maybe could talk about an IPA.
Yeah.
I would just be like, yep, that's sour, and it's
Yeah.
got raspberry in it. Like I can taste the raspberry and it's
Nice.
sour.
Yeah. What do you got there? Is that a stone
Yeah,
tangerine or something?
yeah, Stone Tangerine Express,
Yeah, that's a good one.
which yeah, I like it, and that's a good example of like a nice drinkable summertime IPA. It's got a little
Yeah.
tangerine to it. It's only six. I think it's only 6% ABV, so it's a little more laid back. But more importantly, it's the one IPA that they carry at the liquor store right down the street from my house. So
That's
it's what I bought.
that's exactly what I'm drinking. My super local one that's like within running distance. They have like two IPAs, just the Boulevard Single Wide
Yeah.
IPA and Lagunitas Maximus.
Oh
That's
yeah,
delicious. So I
yeah.
went with the Boulevard.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, they used to distribute that in North Carolina when I lived there, but I think they stopped distributing there. I'm not sure. I just stopped seeing it, but could just be that I stopped noticing. Who knows?
It's good. It's a good brewery. They make some phenomenal beer.
Yeah, no doubt. So yeah, so then that kind of much like with poker, like I was like, oh, I like poker. I'm gonna try to find a way to learn all about this or get into this industry. It kind of happened with beer too. I started brewing and I started collecting beer or whatever. And then I was like, I think I'm gonna go work at a brewery just to like
How
learn.
old were you when you started getting into craft brew?
I guess I would have been about 35,
Okay.
something like that.
That's a great age to get into that.
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing about it is that you can afford it then.
Yeah,
Like
exactly. And
like
your
if
palate's
you're
more reformed and your brain's more
yeah
functional at that point, you would
yeah,
hope.
and you've probably kind of gone through like like I went through a little bit of a wine kick, and I like I said I had gone through a bourbon and a whiskey kick, so I understood the idea that you should drink for the enjoyment and the flavor and not not like when I was in college where I was just like, oh, we're doing, keg stands?
Shotguns.
Cool.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah,
So yeah,
it's all about quality, not quantity. Right.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So like I guess 6 years ago, I just was like, I'm gonna go work at a brewery. And I just basically started going to like breweries and to like different beer events and meeting people and I started talking to a guy, became friends, and I was like, I'll come. He's like, we're looking for a guy to do, or we're looking for somebody to do social media for us 1 hour a day. Like that's
Wow.
yeah. And I
Wow.
was like, and of course I still had TPE at the time, and I was playing poker, and I was like, well, that's perfect. Like I can get into the industry, but I don't really have a huge commitment. So I said to him, I go, I'll do it, and I said, you don't even have to pay me. I'll just manage your social media, do all your tweets and stuff, and I'll just
Probably sounded kind of fun for you, yeah.
yeah, like it was definitely not like I was looking for a job. I was just like, I just want to be in that world, and
Right.
he's like, he basically came back and turned me down and said, I can't pay you as little as I want to pay you, and I'm definitely not going to make you work for free. So I'm going to hire somebody else. And I was like, oh, and I kind of tried to express to him like, no, you don't understand. You'd be doing me the favor. He felt like he was dishonoring me or something. Like, oh, you have all this experience, you have a master's degree, and you have a family. Like, I can't pay you whatever it would have been like $8,000 a year, or whatever. And I said, no, you can. And he's like, no, I'm not doing it. And then like a year later, he came back and he said, okay, we're thinking about expanding the job, and it'll be like
What if, hey,
two.
what if you countered him and said, "You're right, you can't. Just give me 6."
Yeah, that would have been better. But I like understood like his point.
Right.
They really just needed somebody to literally sit there and be like, if somebody tweets, "What are your hours?" Respond and go,
Right.
2 to 7 or whatever.
Right.
I understood it. But yeah, like a year later, he came back and he goes, "We're expanding it a little bit. Like, we want somebody who can like maybe update our website a little bit and also do like our newsletters." And he goes, "Would you be interested in doing that?" And I said, "Yep." So I came on board, and then it eventually grew into pretty close to a full-time job um, before I quit to move to Las Vegas. But I loved it. The beer industry is so cool to me. It reminds me a ton of the music industry, just in 100 ways, and you get free beer, so it's perfect.
This is the greatest. Wow. Your life fascinates me, KB. That's why you've been brought up on this podcast. I think the quote that I said to somebody was that you're doing the damn thing.
Yeah, that's
It's like it's amazing how you've crafted, like you've done it, man. You've cheated the system. Look at you.
yeah. It was kind of an accident. I So when I left college, all I knew is I wanted to work in the music business. And I didn't
But
really know
here's
what
the thing.
that meant.
I want to start even before that. You didn't listen or watch my TSB episode, did you?
No.
Okay, I went on a little tangent or something on about the Upers because you're from the UP, right?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Upper Peninsula of Michigan.
Yeah.
W- How far north of How far north of Mackinac would you have been?
Basically, like, so it would take 4 hours to get from the bridge to my house.
Holy
Um,
shit!
but it's kind of
Wh-
like you go straight up and then you go across. So it's
Which
kind of
way?
like
East or
west,
west?
west. So
Okay.
right at the tip of Keweenaw Bay, if that means anything to anyone. The other way I always describe it is closer to Green Bay than
Right.
Detroit.
Right. Right. Right.
um, but yeah, right on Lake Superior, 3 inches or 300 inches of snow a year, like legit
What
up north.
What is that? What do you ever talk about that? Like growing up in that kind of environment?
Yeah, I've kind of like shed a lot of it. I mean, it definitely comes up like people on my stream. I'll say, "Where are you from?" or whatever, and I'll
Yeah.
talk about it. Um, but I don't have a lot of like contact with people there anymore. Like I've been back. I left the UP in 1990, and I think I've been back 3 times since then.
How did you get out of there?
Basically, went to college. Even that was only going downstate, but at least got me out of the UP.
But was that hard? Was that like frowned upon from where you were from? Like kind of like, hey, why are you going so far away? Or was that like encouraged?
It was definitely frowned upon for most people.
Right.
My parents were from down south near Detroit, and
Oh, okay.
we had just moved up there because my dad got transferred at his
Oh,
job.
what did he do?
He worked for the state highway department.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So for a lot of people, it was definitely frowned upon. Like it was very much like, oh, you don't like it here, or
Right.
you're trying to get, you're going to the big city or whatever. But I think my parents always, well, 3 things. My parents always knew I was going to leave the UP because I didn't make it a big secret that I didn't like it very much.
Right. I can't
Uh,
believe there's not much to like up there. It's a
yeah, if you're a hunter or a fisher, basically you'll love it. And I
even
was needy.
even then, even then,
Yeah, I mean the
I'm a
winters are
hunter and a
so brutal.
fisher, and I wouldn't want to be up there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a hard place to live. Like you, this sounds weird, but you see people from there, you can tell they've lived a harder life than you. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like in their face, like they're worn out,
Right.
they've
Right.
worn out skin, and their houses are falling down, their cars are all rusted out. It's just like it's a rough place.
Michigan
Um,
is such a weird state. I'm from Michigan too.
yeah.
And it's just like I go back there and drive to do you know where Alpena is?
I know the name, but I can't place it on a map.
Okay, so it's like it's not far south of Mackinac. It's like maybe 45 minutes and it's on Lake Huron. So
Oh, okay.
it's northern of up here.
Right, right. Yeah. So kind of like, man, not even further north than like Bay City, right?
Yeah, yeah, I lived in Bay City, way a couple about maybe 2 hours north of Bay City
Okay.
on the Lake Huron, right on Lake Huron. So yeah, I lived up in there in a tiny town. It was a military town, and then the base shut down, and then it was just turned into this ghost town of
Yeah.
it's like population of like 1,000 people, and
Wow.
just and when you know how Michigan is, you go up there and you're going through these towns that are towns of 1,000 people, like population of 1,000.
Right. Yeah. I mean, my town was. I think now it's smaller. I think at the time it was 2,200 people. I think now the population is around 1,800. And my high school graduating class was 50 people, which
Yeah,
is just crazy. Like I talked to my friends were like, I had 1,200 people in my graduating class. I'm like, what? I mean,
yeah.
and I will say there are some nice things about that. So like I told you, I've been back there 3 times.
How old
Tw-
were you when you lived there? What were your ages?
I would have been, let's see, about 13, maybe 12 to 18. Yeah, right around there.
What was that middle school through high school?
Yeah, seventh grade through 12th is when I was like after we
Oh
moved.
man, that must have
So
been hard. That must have been hard for you to move at
it
that
was a
age.
little weird. The one nice thing is that I was doing that transition from middle
Yeah,
school, I guess, to junior high. So I was
right,
changing schools anyway. So
right,
it's not like
right,
it wasn't like a full on like I'm leaving all my friends. Even I was, but I was leaving a bunch of them anyway because there were 3 or 4 different high schools, so we were all splitting up.
right.
Um, but yeah, so at the time it didn't seem hard, but then once I got into music and I started playing guitar and stuff, I was just like, this place is horrible because I can't get a band together. Nobody plays music,
There's
and,
no
every, and
internet. There's no YouTube.
yeah, everybody thinks I'm a freak because I was into 80s hair metal, so I was growing my hair out and I wore tight jeans and put eyeliner on, and so I was just like a weird like outcast. And the other thing was is that my aunt and uncle both worked at Central Michigan University in Southern Michigan.
Mount Pleasant.
Yeah, so it was always sort of known that I was going to leave the UP and go to Central Michigan because that's where my uncle was, and he told me I could have a job, and I had to pay my own way through college. So I knew if I went there, I could get a good job, work, and mostly start a band. I really didn't go to college because I thought I wanted a degree. I thought
You
if I
went
went
there
to
to start a
college,
band. That's a great idea.
yeah, I was like, well, I know there'll be tons of musicians there. Like that's what you hear about college. I like all these guys starting bands. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go there. I ended up loving college weirdly because I hated high school, but it wasn't my motivation for going there. But that was basically how I escaped. And like I said, never really went back. I guess I shouldn't say I've only been back 3 times because of course during college I would do like Christmas or whatever. But once I graduated, graduated college. I've been back I think 3 times. And well, I was going to say, so 2 of those times have been for class reunions. And that is the one nice thing about a small town like that is I know every single person in my class and I was friends with every single person in my class. Like we didn't have a lot of cliques because we only have 50 people. There's really no clique. You
It's
know what I
just
mean?
one big click. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like we're 50 people. Like what are we gonna do? Split up into like, groups of 8 or what? Like there's no cliques. So I will say that was one nice thing. Like was friends then and I'm still friends today with, football players, the guys who play guitar, the popular girls, the nerdy guys. Like I know everybody.
Are a lot of them
Um,
still living in that town?
yeah, I would say, man, like probably 35 out of 50 or something
Uh,
like that.
Wow. Do a lot of them follow you? Because you're like an easy guy to follow. Like,
Yeah, like I get a lot of messages saying things like, and this sounds like me bragging, but I'm not trying to.
hey,
But I
I
really,
asked. It's not bragging. I
yeah,
asked.
I really do get a lot of messages from my high school friends saying things like, "Oh, I wish I could do that," or "I wish I had gone to LA," or "I wish I could have started a band and toured the country," or "That's so cool that you get to live in Vegas now." Like And I was like, you can do that too, right? Like, and
Even
it's
not even anything that extravagant. You can just pick up and move to Detroit or something and just
or move to Green Bay or move to Minnesota, St.
right.
Paul,
Like
Minnesota, or like there's cool places to live and still be near home, you
well,
know?
not only that, but I think a lot of it is just like I don't know if I think they fear like the monetary aspect of it, and it's like I and I'm just projecting my thoughts here, but I imagine in a small town like that, they're not making more than what 40 grand, 50 grand a year,
Yeah,
probably.
I
Like
actually
you can do that.
just
You can do that anywhere.
Yeah, I was actually just having a conversation with somebody about I don't remember what we were talking about, but we got on the topic of like the median income from where we came from. And I didn't know what it was, so I looked it up. It's $36,000 is the median income in the town I grew up in.
That's what I was thinking. I was overshooting quite a bit.
But
I'd be
I
a
mean,
baller at
yeah,
50K.
but I mean that's crazy to me. And it's a weird town too because it's the highest percentage of alcoholism, or the highest alcoholism rate in the state of Michigan is in our county.
How do
And
they measure that? I wonder.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe literally by the number of people going to AA or something, but I guess that would make it very anonymous. Yeah, I don't know how they measure that. Maybe
Right.
just surveys. Like they just say, "Are you an
Maybe
alcoholic?"
drunk driving and hospital visits or something. Who knows?
Yeah, that actually would probably be the way. And it also has a really high unemployment rate. I think around 18%.
Michigan's like that. It's crazy. Michigan is a weird. I've lived all over the country. I was a military brat, but I was born and raised in Michigan. I claim that as home. And I go back there, and Michigan really is just a strange state when you compare it to a lot of other states.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's like a hillbilly state, but different.
Yeah, and the thing I've always noticed is you could even get into like the suburbs of Detroit, and you're still in hillbilly land.
Oh yeah.
Like
Oh yeah. Oh
like
yeah.
Like I say, oh, I went to Mount Pleasant to Central Michigan to get away from the sticks. 90% of people who drove through Mount Pleasant would say that is the sticks.
It is. Yeah, for real.
But to me, it was like, wow, they have like
Especially
fast
back
food
then.
restaurants and movie theaters and record stores. I didn't have any of that in my town. So
Las
I was just,
Señoritas.
yeah, oh, yeah. Well, we were talking about that recently, weren't we?
I'm
Or was that
streaming.
somebody else?
No, I brought that up on your stream, the Las Señoritas.
Yeah, good old Chicago burgers. Mm.
What years were you there again?
90 to 95.
Holy shit. Let me think for a minute. 90. Let's see. I would have been. How old are you if you're in like 11 11 years old? What grade is that?
That would be, I'm so bad at this. Maybe
Fifth.
like sixth grade, because fifth or sixth grade, because then you have 6 years of high school and you're graduated at 18. So yeah, you'd probably be fifth grade.
Oh, my fifth grade year, I was in Mount Pleasant. Okay. I grew up, I basically grew up on that campus.
Wow.
Yeah, I basically grew up on campus to a, yeah.
I had a
And
great time there. I actually loved that town.
it's
Like,
awesome. Some of the football players babysat us at that
oh,
time. So
nice.
we were there in like the late 80s, like 88, 89, 90, probably last year. 86, 87, 88, 89 is probably when I was there.
Yeah.
I have an early memory of going to we would go to the football games all the time. We got to go in for free because after a second half, it was free.
Oh, nice. I don't even
And,
remember that. That's
and
crazy.
we lived like a block and a half from the stadium. We would just walk. My brother and I would just walk there. They would have marshmallow fights. Did you guys have marshmallow fights in the stands?
No, but that sounds awesome. That's great.
That was like a big thing for a couple of years. It was just everybody brought bags of like the big jumbo marshmallows and just
Yeah.
throw them and just have these giant marshmallow wars. It was awesome.
God, that must have been hell to clean up. I feel bad for the maintenance crew.
Oh, I never even thought about that. Yeah, at least it wasn't like super hot summer where they would be all melty.
Yeah, true.
And one of my earliest memories as a child actually is going to one of those Mount Pleasant, the Chippewa games. And there was a college student that took us there, and we were sitting towards the end zone. It was during the game, and he said, "Hey, I dare you to run out to the middle of the field and then run back." I was like, "No way." He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "All right," and I did it. And I ran all the way across in the middle of the
Wow.
game, in the middle of the end zone, and then came all the way back. It was, yeah.
So you outran security?
No, this was early, late, late 80s. There was no security, and it was
Good
CMU. You know
point.
how small? I mean, there was like
Oh yeah,
just a
that
few.
yeah, because Central's kind of gotten pretty good now in terms of football, but back then they were.
Yeah, back then it was like you're talking maybe 1,000 people in the stadium.
Yeah, that
You
seems
know?
right. I didn't go to a lot of games when I was in college for some weird reason. Um, but when I did, they were always very small. Like you sit in a student section, you'd be like front row. Like
Right.
you couldn't get better seats, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Uh,
now they're actually like, I mean they had the number one pick in the NFL draft like 3 years ago. It's insane.
I have oh, I saw your tweet. So you're a fantasy football player, which I've known. I'm in one of my leagues is a keeper league. I've had Antonio Brown for years.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's a
Yeah.
CMU guy.
Yep. There's actually a great article out there where he talks about his decision to go to Central Michigan, and I won't recount the whole thing, but it's a really interesting read if you care about Antonio Brown or Central Michigan.
Right.
So yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's amazing. I so you're coming up, you've got a podcast coming up. Killing Bird's Corner is what I'm calling it because you're not going to tell us your secret name because
That's right.
it's going to get stolen. How you went so you recently went to Vegas you're talking about and you went from North Carolina to it was North Carolina, right?
Yeah. Yep.
That's what Drew did. Was Drew?
Drew went North Carolina to LA.
Right, right. I had
Yeah.
him on the podcast recently.
Yeah.
What I kind of know a little bit about that, but you just kind of packed up everything and you and your wife said, "Hey, let's go somewhere," and you guys eventually settled on Las Vegas.
Yeah. So it's kind of we've kind of done this a lot. Like
Right.
when we graduated from college, we were like, I want to move to LA. And we're like, okay. So we threw everything in a truck and I had $300 in my pocket when we moved to Los
Your
Angeles.
wife is from the same town you are, right?
Yeah, she was born and raised in Lance though, up in the UP.
Wow, that's even harder for her to get out of there. Was that hard for her to move away from all that?
I don't think so, because she kind of like she did like the sort of transition. So we did a year at different colleges. So she went to Lake Superior State University, which is in the UP.
Ooh, they got a good hockey team.
Yes, that's the one thing I always remember about them. So she was there for a year, and then she transferred to Central, where I was at. And then, we did 2 or 3 more years, whatever, and graduated and left. So she kind of did like the slow transition out. I don't think she was ever like, I don't think she was dead set on leaving there, but I don't think she was ever against it either. Just kind of like, she just sort of slowly evolved away. But certainly when we moved to LA, like she was very much ready to do that. By then we definitely knew we weren't going back to the UP, like we were going somewhere.
I don't know why anybody would live anywhere in Michigan, really, outside of maybe like Detroit or Grand Rapids or something like that. That state is just, I don't understand it.
Yeah. And the economy is brutal there right now too.
That's what I'm saying. The
Yeah,
economy is a fucking disaster.
yeah. So yeah, so we had done, and I'd also done an internship in New York City where we, I guess it was my junior year of college, where we moved there and just lived in like a studio apartment. We had no money, we had no TV, no bed, no
Wow.
phone.
How
So
old
we,
were you?
I guess I couldn't drink yet, so I would have been
Wow.
20, I guess.
Wow. You went from Michigan from college life to the big city life in New York
Yeah,
with
and it
her
was
with your wife with your what was your
yeah. We weren't married yet, but yeah, she
but
came with me.
wow, what that
Yeah.
dude, so your story is so amazing, and there's all these other little small stories that I bet nobody knows about. What was that like? What was New York like for a little
It,
Michigan couple going to the big city? I've never been in New York. Well,
Yeah, it was insane in hindsight. I was like, it's funny how many of these things I've talked about. My wife and I were talking about moving to New York, or not talking about, reminiscing about when we moved to New York just yesterday. I had basically got an internship, and at that time, the internet existed, but wasn't as nearly prevalent as it was now. So I had literally like, yes,
barely.
I had written a resume, typed up a resume and put it in an envelope and sent it to a company, and they called and we talked on the phone and they're like, okay, well, if you can be here on this day, your internship will start. But I didn't have any money. And like I said, I was paying my way through college. So I had basically what I had was maybe like a couple $100, like enough to like wait for the next paycheck. And then I paid my rent and bought food. And then I waited for the next paycheck. So we had no money. but you know, New York City is not cheap. So basically, what I did is I took my credit card, which maybe had like a I don't know like a $5,000 credit limit or something, and I did cash advances, and you could do it one cash advance a day for $300 or whatever.
How old are you, KP?
Now
Yeah, right now.
47, 46,
God,
46. Sorry, got
really?
ahead of myself.
I thought you were younger. You look really good for 46.
It's the beer.
I
The
think
beer
so.
keeps you young.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm really
Oh,
good
it's
at
okay.
tracking, but
It's okay.
the handsome devil you go on.
So I took cash advances on my credit card every day until it was maxed out. So I had, maybe like $4,000 or whatever in my
Right.
pocket. And I didn't have any place to live. So when I went to New York City, I took a bus. And when I went there, I had no place to stay. I just literally like it's like the movies, right? Like you like get off the bus and you have like two bags and you're just like, the fuck do I do now?
Are you
Like,
kidding me? You really did that shit? That shit's
yeah.
real? You
Yep.
just said, here, New York, I'm coming. I got an internship. What did you do? Holy shit.
I literally like went and got the Village Voice news, which is like the local newspaper, entertainment newspaper or whatever. And I just looked.
How did you know to grab that? It was just the first thing you saw or what?
I think I just said, well, I'll just get there and get a newspaper because this
Because
is
you
it,
have to, people have to remember this is before smartphones. You couldn't just Google something. Like you
right.
step off the train and like what you see a magazine rack.
Yeah, I think my plan was I'll get there, I'll just find the newspaper and I'll look in the classified ads for
Okay.
apartments, like
Right.
I'll just find one.
Oh my
And
God.
and yeah, like you said, no smartphones. So like so I think if I remember it, I think I went to two. So I think I found two and I was like, well, that's 500 a month. I guess I can afford that.
How much preparation did you do before going out there?
None.
Wow.
Yeah, like zero. Like I didn't know
What?
anybody. I had no place to stay. I didn't know what was a nice part of town, what was a bad part of town. Because
This is
again,
why.
like
This is why.
yeah, like not to harp on the no internet thing, but
No,
like
it's a
there
big
wasn't really
thing.
an easy way to go, well, where should I live in New York? Now you would just go on Reddit or whatever and be like, hey guys, what's the best place to live in New York City? And you'd find out
Right.
all this information. Then it was just like look around and go, oh, that building looks pretty cool.
It's so weird. It is so weird to think about how we used to live compared to how it is now. Like how easy and soft we are now
Yeah,
because of that shit.
so true. But yeah, so I literally just like found, went to visit a couple of apartments that said they were for rent, and I was like, I want to rent an apartment, and they wanted to do like credit checks and everything, but of course I had no credit because I was a college kid, and I said,
Right.
I'm only here for 4 months. I said, here's the money, like I'll pay you all of it in advance.
2,500 or something.
Yeah, like whatever the 2 grand, 25, whatever it was, and they were just like, I don't think they were used to that. And they probably thought I was rich, or a drug dealer or something. But
Right.
I was the opposite of rich. And they were like, okay, well, here's your key. It was almost like checking into a hotel. It was the
That's a
weirdest thing.
really smart way to do it. Just here it is up front, and then that puts pressure on you, gives you a timeline, but then it also takes the pressure off of you because you have a home for the next 4 months.
Yeah, at least I knew I didn't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
But like when I say we lived like bare bones, I'm talking we had, again, no bed, no TV, no phone, no air conditioning,
Wow.
um, no chairs to sit in. Like all we owned, the only thing in our little studio apartment was what came in my suitcase. So like some clothes, and I had a cassette Walkman with little speakers. That's how I listen to music.
Oh, I remember those.
And we did go and buy like one of those like roll out puff pads for like $5 or whatever,
Uh,
and that's what we slept on with a sleeping bag. And we took a chair out of the garbage, and that's kind of where we would sit to like put our shoes on and stuff. And then everything else we got was from the recycle bin or the garbage. So like I always remember I had posters on the wall of like the New York Knicks and like all these New York things because I would find them like
right.
sitting
Makes
in
sense,
a
obviously.
dumpster or whatever. Yeah, and I'd just be like, oh, I don't like the Knicks, but I need something on the wall, so I'm gonna steal this poster. And we would always grab magazines from the recycle bin because that was like a cheap way to find something to read. And yeah, we like back then it was ramen noodles and like ketchup soup, I always call it, which is just ketchup and water,
What
stir it
was
up
she?
and heat
What
it
was
up.
she? What was she doing?
She was basically just hanging out because I had the internship, but she didn't have one and she didn't have a job or anything. Although right towards the very end, I think maybe we were like 2.5, 3 months in.
What would she do during the day? She had to occupy your time doing something.
Well, that was the one nice thing about New York City is it was so easy to occupy your time, and you could do it for free really easily.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, like just go to street fairs or I mean any one of the million parks or walk down to the Statue of Liberty or go, and none of it really
I'm gonna
costs
have
anything.
another beer.
Oh yeah, good idea. I'm gonna have a
I'm
cig of mine right now.
I'm f- I've started before you. I'm like you need to
You're well on your way.
well, you need to catch up.
But right towards the end of that time in New York City, she actually went and got a job. I think because she was getting bored. And it was crazy because it paid really good. I think she was a receptionist at a doctor's office.
Oh, nice.
And I remember it, again, we were broke, right? And I think it was going to pay like $35,000 a year or something. And,
Wow.
and to us, that was like, holy cow.
Well, when rent's $500 a month, that's a pretty good deal.
Yeah. But I don't remember why. I should ask her about this. For some reason, within like a week, she quit. I feel like the doctor was kind of like a creepy dude or something, but I can't really
Oh,
remember. So we went right back to being poor. I don't think she ever even got a paycheck, if I remember right. Like she didn't work there long enough. They were just like, "Well, you're not getting a paycheck." She was like, "Okay, that's fine." um, so yeah. So long story short, we did that, and then right out of college, we moved to Los Angeles,
oh, so
and
after New
then
York, no, after New York, then you went to Los Angeles?
after New York, we went back to Mount Pleasant to finish school because that was
Oh,
like my
oh, that was the
junior year, I think.
internship. Okay,
Yeah.
right.
So went back, finished up, moved right to Los Angeles,
With what,
and
like
then
with the night with already something established, or was it the same thing? Where do I go?
yeah, same. Well, the the one difference was is that I had a place to stay.
Nice.
My buddy Stevie, who was a musician out there, was like, he's like, "Hey man, you can sleep on my couch for $50 a month until you figure out what you're doing, or maybe it was $50 a week. I can't remember how much it was, but it was some
Right.
ridiculously like really. He was basically like, "Here, have my couch and
Nice.
pitch in a little for food and electricity or whatever." I'm like, okay. So I at least had that, but I had no job, I had no money, anything like that. But I at least knew people, which was kind of nice. And there were 8 people living in this house. So the nice thing was I instantly got like a group of friends. It's just kind of like I moved, went out there and it was just like boom, people. Like here's a bunch of friends. But they were all struggling musicians, but it was at least and a lot of those guys are still like really
What
good
was your
friends.
idea? I'm gonna go. I want to go to LA. Here I go.
Yeah, I just wanted to get a job in the music industry. So I knew it was either New York, Nashville, or LA.
But doing what? Anything? Like you didn't have a job lined up. You just went to LA to quote unquote music industry job?
Yeah, yeah. I had no job lined up or anything. I just was kind of like,
Wow.
I was just like, I need to be there. Like I want to get there
Fuck,
and
man,
do
I've
it.
gone through life so fucking wrong. I'm doing the damn thing wrong.
It's not too late.
The funny thing is you say that, and I am thinking in my mind, you were just saying you started TP at what, 37?
Yeah, it must have been right around 37.
And
Yeah,
I'm like, fuck, I'm 38. Maybe it's not too late.
definitely not. No, and now you have all this so much more wisdom now to like
I've,
help you do it.
I don't have any wisdom.
Um, so yeah, it's such a long. When I think of my life, it's such a long, drawn out story. But we're in LA. I lived
It's
there 8 years.
amazing, dude. Your life is amazing. Do you talk about this often? Have you done a podcast like this where you've talked about this stuff? Do you
I
not
don't.
want to talk about this?
No, I love talking about it. To me, this is what life's about. Like, I love talking about this stuff. I love doing it more, but I like talking about it.
This is
Second best.
incredible. I hope you don't mind me taking up your time. Like I
No,
can't,
not at
I
all.
again, I can't thank you enough for doing this for me.
Yeah,
This is awesome.
I'm definitely stoked to be here.
Yeah.
So I'm living in LA. I get a job in the music business, do that whole thing. I'm there about 8, 9 years. And
Well,
one day,
how did you do that? How did you find your job? You didn't know, you had nothing lined up. You go out there. How did you get your first job? What was it?
so I had the first job I got was doing audio visual work in a hotel, which is basically how I paid my way through college too. Except I was doing audio visual work on a university. So things like microphones and setting up lights, and if a concert came, you set up all the speakers, and that's
Okay.
basically what I did.
Sure.
So I got a job doing that like within the first month, I think in LA. I got a job doing that at a hotel,
Nice.
and it was cool. It paid decent. I think I was making 36 grand, which is cool.
Which is
That's cool.
the minimum, the average of UP Michigan.
Yeah, yeah. My starting wage was like what most people make there.
Right.
Uh, and it wasn't like my dream job, but it was. I knew how to do it, and it was good, and it paid, and I was able to get an apartment and all that kind of stuff.
Getting your foot in the
Um,
door. You got to start somewhere. Nice.
yeah, but I think I was only there. I guess I was there 9 months, and I got and during that 9 months, I was looking for jobs in the music business, and I found. I got offered a job at a company called Caroline Distribution, which is just a small independent music company. And it paid. I always remember it paid $17,000 a year,
Oh my gosh.
and but I knew that's what I wanted to do, so I quit my job at the audiovisual company and took the $17,000 a year job. And
And
2 days,
your woman was fine with that?
yep, she was cool with it.
Wow.
I think she had gotten her job by then too, so at least that was good.
Was she making decent money?
Yeah, I think she was probably making in that range somewhere, like 30 to 35, something like that. Like not, we weren't rich yet, but
But back
we
then
were.
it was a little bit more. So you're hanging on. You're not
Yeah, and we had no kids, and we had one car. Like life was just simpler, Like
right. Yeah, for sure. You can manage this. Okay.
yeah.
Go on.
Um, but then in a weird twist of events, 2 days later, I get offered another job at EMI Music, which is one of the biggest music
Right.
companies in the world at the
Right.
time, and that job paid $22,000, so
Oh,
five
that's your
thousand dollars
boy.
more.
Fuck yeah.
So I had to do the dreaded call to the very nice woman whose name is Jill, who I still talk to this day, who
Oh
hired me at the
wow.
first company, and I said to her, I am really sorry, but I need to revoke my accepting that job
Right.
because I got offered this other job at EMI for 22,000, and she goes, "Don't even worry about it. I know how it is. When you're just starting out and you're trying, you got to make money and you're trying to take care of your family and you're new to LA and you,
I mean, she knows that 17,000 ain't shit.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's a pretty low ball offer,
yeah,
probably.
right." And she was like, "Don't sweat it. No problem.
We'll
Good luck."
find another sucker that will take our 17
Yeah,
grand
exactly,
anyway.
exactly. So yeah, so I went to work for EMI and um, was fortunate to do well there. Moved up very quickly. I left there 8 years later as senior director of artist development, like making way more than I was making when I started, and and it was amazing. It was like
Did you
the best time.
did you need to have your college education to do what you did and to get where you got?
No, I don't think so. I kind of give my son a hard time sometimes because he's in college, and I'm like, you could have just taken all this money for college and started a business.
Right.
Especially because he's going for entrepreneurship. Like he wants to start a business. I'm like, you should have just started a business with all this money.
You should have just talking to dad.
Yeah. But there is something to be said about that college experience, like you do grow
Sure.
up and learn a lot and make lifelong friends. And I get all that. So,
Yeah.
um, but no, I don't think so. I mean, there were certainly some things that probably helped, like how to use Microsoft Excel and things like that.
Well,
But
I just meant as far as like the company saying, "Oh, we definitely want
all
you
right.
because you have this kind of education." Or
Right.
could you have just gone in there and be like, "Here's what I do."
Yeah, I'm guessing it probably at least helped me get the interview.
Okay.
You know,
Well, I mean,
I would actually, like, I wish I had the job or the job posting, the job listing. Like, I would love to see if it says, must have a bachelor's degree or must have
right.
5 years of experience or whatever. Um, I don't remember if it did or not, but I don't. It probably didn't hurt, but I don't think it was necessary. There were certainly many people that I worked with in my years in the music industry who didn't have a college education.
Right.
Like they just came up and like literally in the streets, like promoting club shows or being a DJ or whatever, and they just worked their way up. You know.
Man, look at you. It's easy to look up to a guy like you. You're just fucking doing it, man.
Well, thank you, man.
Really, man, like you have to know that you've like cheated the system and you've won. Like you've won. You're doing what you want to do. You're like doing your passion. Like you don't wake up and go like, "Ah, I have to go to work." You're like, I'm KB. I'm doing what I want today.
It's funny. I joke all the time. I've never, with the exception of maybe a few days when I was doing that audio visual job, because the one thing about that job was I had to wear a suit and a tie because you were working with a lot of corporate clients. You'd work with
Okay.
like,
Yeah.
like the vice president of IBM would be doing a speech or whatever, so you always had to look good. So I'd have a suit and tie on, and I had to be there at like 7 in the morning, which meant I had to leave my apartment in Reseda at like 6 in the morning. So with the exception of maybe some days while I was there, I've never had a job that I wasn't excited to get up and go to in the morning.
Yeah.
And this goes back as far as when, so I first started working, which is weird, when I lived in Marine City, Michigan. I started working when I was probably 7 or 8 years old.
Holy shit.
I picked beans on my neighbor's farm,
Really? Wow.
and we would get paid $1.50 a bushel.
Wow.
And I never stopped working from then. Like I did that all through elementary school, and then when I got to high school, I got a job at the pizza joint. But it was like it was the place where all the kids hung out in town. So like everybody wanted to work at the pizza place because you got free pizza, free soda, and you got to be with all your friends because all your friends would just come in and sit there and eat pizza all night. So it was more like it was almost like you worked at a kid's hangout more than a pizza joint. I loved working there. And then I went to college and started doing concert rigging and stuff with my uncle. So I would like go to like Metallica shows and like
You did, how
hang the
did
lights and stuff.
you didn't want to like you weren't sitting around thinking I want to pick beans. Like this would be fun.
No.
But there was a point where you started thinking, "Hey, this is what I want to do and I want to and I might as well get paid for it too."
Yeah. And so I probably should have been more detailed about the bean picking thing because I'm sure there's some people who are going to go, wait, he loved going to pick beans every day. So the farmer had this amazing game room in the basement of his farmhouse.
There we
And
go.
it was like he had these like like I used to have to go to the arcade and pay a quarter to play like Star Wars or like Space Invaders or whatever. But he had a
No,
pool table.
Star Wars was a dope game. Wasn't that the game you sat in and you walked it back and forth and the whole thing would shift?
Yes, I
Wasn't
think
that Star Wars?
that was later than me because when
Okay.
I like only games we had were like literally like the joystick and a button, and then
Right.
eventually they became two buttons and three buttons and
Miss
multiple joysticks.
Yeah, Miss Pac-Man, Centipede,
Yeah,
Gauntlet, or yeah,
right.
yeah.
But he had a pool table, a foosball table, and like three or four like full size stand up video games, and then he had a refrigerator full of soda. Like
Nice.
it almost sounds kind of creepy because it sounds like it was like a childhood
Like
trap or
Michael
something.
Jackson or something.
Yeah, but we would like the thing was is essentially he would let you kind of come and go as you pleased because kids had football and baseball. So basically, you could just come whenever you wanted. You just showed up and you would pick the beans and you'd fill a bushel or whatever, and you'd bring it and put it on the truck, and they'd give you $1.50, and you could just leave, or you could stay and work 5 more hours, or you could go down in the basement and play video games with all your buddies when you were done picking a few bushels of beans.
And get
That's why,
paid? Like were the games free?
yeah, all the games were set up to be played for free, and
Oh, so
so
you didn't have to make $1.50, then give it to him to play the game. So you
no,
got $1.50 and got to play.
yeah, yeah,
Sign me up, son.
I know. So that's why that was like the closest thing to a dream job for a 9-year old or whatever I was at the
Absolutely.
time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And sometimes you would just like I said, sometimes you would go and you would just spend like an hour and you'd pick a bushel and you just go home with your $1.50 and buy Star Wars cards or do whatever you did with them. But yeah, like so from that time, so yeah, I went did the pizza job, did the concert stuff in college, and then I went right into the music business and then into the poker business and the beer business. And like to this day, I don't really understand. I don't know the sensation of going to bed on Sunday night thinking, fuck,
Fuck, I
man,
gotta go to work tomorrow.
yeah, it's Monday. Like I gotta set my alarm and I gotta I'm just miserable, like coming home cranky or like whatever.
Oh,
I
fuck
don't know
you.
that sensation.
You don't know that hell, dude. That's a fucking hell you don't want to know, dude.
Yeah.
Let me
I've
tell you.
never
Let me tell
experienced
you.
it.
That's I envy you. Everybody listening to this envies you. You have no idea what it's like to be like, I'd like to stay up. Like for me, sometimes it's like I try to go to bed at a certain time. Like I have a bedtime. I try to be
Mm.
responsible. And sometimes it's like I see the clock, my bedtime, it's coming up. And sometimes like, fuck, I'd really like to watch one more episode of Shameless.
Yeah.
But I can't because I gotta wake up at 5 o'clock. I gotta, I gotta get my workout in and then go to work to my job. Man, good for you, man. I love this story. Like, there's a couple people that I've had on this podcast where I've had the privilege to talk to two people that have just pulled a matrix on the system
Yeah.
and have just they tricked it like you. Like you've never had to work a day in your life. You're just doing what you want when you want. And like I man, I can't do it. I hope it's not too late. I hope I can get there. But it's like I hope maybe this gets to a younger person that can see that and be like, look, man, dude, try to do what you want to do. Look at
Yeah.
this guy. This guy fucking figured it out.
I and it wasn't intentional. Like I never really had that plan. There just came a point, I think somewhere like halfway through my music industry career where I was like, where I had friends who were like, "Oh, thank God it's Friday," or "Shit, it's
Right.
Monday. I got to go to work," you know. And
Right.
I'm like, how come I don't feel like that? Like I worked, I would go in on the weekends. I remember I worked 48 straight hours once at EMI, like just sitting at my office, like working, and didn't even really want to go home. Like I was just enjoying it so much. And I remember there was some project going on that, like it wasn't like I just sat there. Like I, you know, I had a reason to be there, but I never at any point was like, damn, man, I've been here 40 hours. This sucks. You know, like I
Right.
loved it. I loved it.
Yeah.
Um, and it's been that way with TPE. It's been that way with like Twitch. It's been that way with the beer business. Like I, I am excited. I lose sleep more because I'm excited for the next day to get here
Nice.
than I do because I'm dreading it. You know what I mean? Like it's usually like, oh, I can't wait to get up and like
And that
record that
started from a
podcast.
very young age. That didn't just start at the age of 37 when you started TPE. I mean, this started at a very young age where you just figured it out.
Yeah, and it might have been so my this is weird, but my dad didn't have like the dream job when I was growing up. Like I say, did basically did construction, like road construction.
Right, right,
But there did come a point later in his life, and maybe it wore off on me. So they had this weird they passed some law in Michigan where you could retire. It used to be like you had to retire for state employees. You had to retire at 55 or whatever the age was, or you could retire at that age. But they passed a new law which took into account it was a formula, and it was the years you've worked for the state, your age, and military service.
right.
And there was some, weighting to each one or whatever. So he went from being like 15 years from retirement to being able to retire at 45.
Holy cow, that's the
Like
dream.
overnight, the governor signed a bill and he was just like, "Whoa,
Holy
I
shit,
can
now that's
retire."
the dream. Dream
Yeah.
retiring at 45. I'm almost there.
Yeah. And but then he kind of stayed retired for like 5 years, but then he got bored. So what he
Right,
ended up doing was he started taking jobs, but they were like quote unquote dream job. You know what I mean? Like so he went and worked on a cattle ranch. Like he was really into like I don't know, cat like horses and like Western stuff or
right.
whatever.
No, that's awesome. I can
Yeah.
see that. I could be drawn to that.
Yeah. So he went and worked on a cattle ranch for like 6 months. And then when he got bored, he just quit. And then he would go back to retirement. And then he went, he manned a fire tower on the highest peak in Montana.
Oh my gosh, your dad lived a dream job too.
I know. And
Wow.
I think by osmosis, because he never really talked about like I love my job, but I could tell. It was like
Right.
it was him and his dog, and it was a 6 month contract, and all he did is he lived in a cabin on a peak of a mountain,
Oh
and
my
his
gosh.
job was to watch for smoke. Like that was
I
his job.
I want him on the podcast. Now that's a job. Oh my gosh, what a
Yeah,
life.
yeah. And I think, like I said, I think by osmosis, I was like, huh. So you can kind of, I mean, obviously he was by then quote unquote financially secure because he was retired,
Right.
and the kids were all gone and stuff. But it did make me realize like there's jobs out there where they actually pay you to do what you want to do.
Shit.
Now it doesn't mean that they pay you well. So I'll always
Right.
ask my friends, well, what do you want to do? What's your like passion? Like, what's the thing you really want to do? And they're like, oh, I don't know. I just want to play golf all day. And I'm like, all right,
Well,
well,
that's pretty
I'm
hard
like,
to
okay, well, you probably can't be a professional golfer, you know? Yeah, it might be too late for that. But I mean, if you're willing to make not very much money, I bet you could go be a caddy or I don't know what their job. I've never golfed a hole in my life, so I have no idea what jobs exist at golf courses. I said,
work in a golf store at a golf course or something. Sure.
yeah, or maybe you become a like a blogger or a vlogger about
A
golf.
caddy's a good idea. That would be a good like if you wanted to be deep into the golf game and being a serious caddy, that might be the way to set your dreams. Yeah.
And you get to pick people, good golfers' brains, and
Right.
you're around golf. You probably get to golf for free when it's slow and you're off work and things. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know about golf. I just use
Right.
that as a random example.
I like it.
But I always tell people you can get paid to do exactly what you want to do. You just have to be willing to accept the pay.
Oh my gosh,
So
I have to pee so bad right now.
get it done.
Can you hold court for a minute?
Of
Maybe
course.
talk about
I'll talk to the world.
we haven't talked about the TPE. People you just mentioned it. Some people aren't going to know what that is.
Oh yeah, I can give people the
If you
brief
want
rundown.
to Yeah, do that. I'm going to pee. I'll be right back.
All right. So for all you guys out there who are wondering, what is Tournament Poker Edge? We keep mentioning TPE. Tournament Poker Edge is basically a training site dedicated to multi-table tournament poker. So the kind of stuff you see on the internet or on YouTube or on ESPN, the World Series of Poker, essentially we teach people to win that form of poker. Um, so yeah, we started about 8 years ago. We have over 2,000 training videos. We have a forum for our members dedicated just to talking strategy and talking through hands and stuff like that. We do several podcasts, some of which you've heard mentioned here today, the Tournament Poker Edge podcast. We do TPE Live, and we do a podcast called Mid Stakes Living, where we essentially pick the brains of some of the best online poker players in the world. And it's cool. So if you happen to be a poker player and you're watching this, head over to tournamentpokeredge.com, or you can go to www.tpe.poker. That'll work as well. And if you want to get a kind of a feel for what the site is about without signing up, we have a bunch of free videos over there. You can also check out a bunch of free videos that we have on YouTube. And again, as we mentioned a bunch of times, you can listen to probably 100 different podcasts episodes on iTunes, Stitcher, wherever else you get your podcasts. So I would encourage you to go check those out as well. And we try to be very sort of community focused. So don't be afraid to hit me up on Twitter or in the TPE forums or on my Twitch channel or whatever. You can always find me there. So hit me up anytime and we'll answer any questions you need.
You know what's nice about having the Twitch people on for interviews is they can always hold court for a good minute or two.
I hit the post too, as they say in radio. Like I literally finished my spiel as you walked in the door.
Oh, hell yeah, nice. Nice. I'm not gonna out myself, but I've had a couple drinks starting fairly early in the day today.
That usually is me, but I'm actually on my first one. I don't know how that happened.
How did that happen? It always happens.
Well,
You know, it happens with me when I'm trying to get someone on that's a typical drinker. TSB had like two. You're on to one. And I think I did get bet on Drew. I think he had one or two. You ever seen him drink before?
only in person. Never on his stream. We had him out at. I actually hosted him and One Dog Geek and Poker Pastor at my at our beach house for a stream
Oh,
weekend one time.
oh, nice.
Yeah, so they came out. We spent I think 3 nights out in the Outer Banks in North Carolina, just basically streaming. We I don't think we ever saw the beach actually, but we did spend a lot of time streaming poker together. So it was cool.
Are you gonna go to TwitchCon this year?
So I was going to, and then I changed my mind and decided to go to Run It Up Reno instead, which
Okay.
is just like a poker event up
Yeah.
in Reno. So I'm just gonna go up there to that instead. I was kind of balancing because I had a bunch of stuff going on. Like over basically September and October were like packed. Like I'm going to San Francisco this weekend. Reno was thinking about TwitchCon. I need to go to LA. And I was also supposed to fly to Biloxi for a tournament series. And so basically I just canceled like half of what I was doing. So this is
Yeah.
too much. I'm going to slow it down a little bit. So now I only have 3 trips to make.
So you are you're one of you. I want to say that maybe like you and Drew are the two biggest. Are you the two biggest U.S. poker streamers on Twitch?
Yeah, I'd say we're amongst them. It can fluctuate a little bit,
But
kind of depending on like who's like if somebody's streaming a lot that week, they'll kind of peak up and so on and so forth. But
like consistently, is it kind of you and Drew? You
me and
think?
Drew and probably like the guy the Snoston Lost. I don't know if you watched his stream, but he's pretty big. I might be forgetting a
Is
couple of
he
people
still?
too.
John Blaze is up there a
Yeah,
little.
John Blaze does well. There's definitely
Poker You know, I've seen One Dull Geek has gotten quite a nice consistent following as well.
yeah, he's doing well too. There's sort of like a core group of probably like 6 or 7 of us that sort of have a lot of the same fans and are very sort of similar in our
Right.
viewing numbers.
Right.
But we're all, yeah, me and Drew are definitely amongst those people, I would say for sure.
And you don't have to feel free to not answer things and stuff.
Sure.
And there's a thing called America with the ACR Stormers. You're an ACR Stormer.
Yes.
What exactly is that, and why are you a Stormer?
So basically, ACR Stormers is a
Because you weren't one for a while, and then
yeah, I kind of avoided doing it for a long time, mainly for selfish reasons. Like I didn't want to have any schedule, and I didn't want to have like even little things. Like I didn't want anybody to be able to say like, "Hey, put this link on your Twitch page," or use this graphic or whatever, you know.
hmm
So they had kind of talked to me for a while about doing it, and I was always kind of not really anti doing it, but I was just like, "Nah, I'm good." Like I'm just kind of doing my thing over here, you know.
right, right,
Um, but then I used to host a home game on PokerStars on their free money site,
right.
but they capped the number of people that you can have to 100. So I couldn't have a home game anymore, and it was really frustrating to me because it was one of the funnest things that I like kind of did on stream was
Right, right. Those are
and
a lot of fun. Yeah.
yeah, and for people who don't know what a home game, it's basically just you and all your viewers or all your friends playing together in the same tournament. And I really wanted to do that. So when ACR started doing that with Stormers, I was like, okay, well, I could get on board with this to have my own home game. Like that alone might be enough to get me on board. Um, so I basically started talking to Lost in Poker, who's the guy who kind of runs that program, and I was like, look, I don't just want to be like committed to too much. You know what I mean? Like I want to continue to do my thing, but I'm willing to sort of be involved in the Stormers thing to get a home game. And he said, well, look, the only real responsibility you have, the only thing you have to do is host your home game. So
Oh,
once we give you a
nice.
home game, you can't just like not show up on Tuesday night or whatever, you know?
Right, right.
Um, he said, beyond that, it's really up to you. Like if you want to retweet something or if you want to put a graphic up. Now, if you don't do any of that stuff, you might get looked upon kind of negatively. At some point they're going to go, well, why do we have this guy as part of the team if he's not doing anything?
Okay. Yeah.
So it's sort of understood that you're going to participate in certain things and stuff like that. But
Retweets and like kind of social media type stuff.
yeah, and again, none of it's ever like we never get a thing saying you must retweet this.
Right.
It's just kind of you just kind of know. You're just kind of like, oh, I should probably retweet that. Like
And
that seems like something I should retweet.
what are you getting out of it other than the home game? Like, did they come at you and say, "Hey, we'll
Yeah, so there's a
get you,"
few
like,
things you get out
what?
of it.
You don't have to answer anything. You can be like,
Nah, there's very few things I won't answer. So you
I'm just
get
so curious. I like not many people will probably see this. You won't get in trouble. It's just on a personal
yeah,
level. I'm so curious about this because, yeah, I talked to them for a little bit back when I was streaming for a little while. And,
yeah. I don't mind answering at all. Like there's very few
uh,
things that are off base for me. So I guess one of the big things is that you kind of get access to that community, meaning not, yes, you sometimes have to retweet their stuff, but also when you are Twitch streaming, they retweet to their followers and say
all
KB
the
streaming.
stormers kind of get, yeah.
Yeah, you get support from the others, like you said, from the other gold stormers who are the guys who Twitch stream. They obviously help support your stream. You get featured on the ACR website. You get featured on their other social media channels. So all that sort of exposure stuff is kind of cool. You get the home game. You do get access to do some cool like events and stuff. So like, they flew me down to Costa Rica to do
Oh,
commentary.
wow, really?
Yeah, so they do live cage down there, which is like a
Right.
live cash game basically.
Wow.
And so they flew me and Snost and Lost down for 3 nights to like do live commentary. But they paid for our hotel, they paid for airfare, they gave us some spending money, paid for our
Wow.
food.
How
So
was it?
it was amazing. Costa Rica was so much fun.
It was like legit, like you didn't have to worry about nothing. It was all fun and good and like
Yeah, it
great.
was great. Although, truth be told, I've rarely left the hotel because we'd get up at like, I don't know, 11 o'clock or whatever. And then the tournament would start at 12. And you're
Uh-huh.
basically in the broadcast booth until, 8 o'clock at night or 9 o'clock at night.
Oh, wow.
And then you'd grab dinner and maybe hit the bar. And then next thing you know, it's like 11 and 12. And you got to get up
Right.
the next morning to do commentary. So you basically go to bed. So we didn't do a whole lot of like touristy stuff. We didn't do any zip lining or trips to the beach or anything like that. But it was still a blast. Like the people are super nice and the food is delicious. The cocktails are amazing.
Was it worth it? Would you do it again?
Oh yeah, I would 100% do it again.
Nice.
Yeah, it
Very
was
cool,
awesome.
man. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So little things like that are cool.
Yeah.
And then we occasionally, we'll get like tournament tickets and stuff sometimes. Like if they're doing a
Nice.
big promotion around like I don't know, like OSS series or whatever, they'll be like, hey, we want you all to play this $55 tournament. Here's a $55 ticket or
All
whatever.
right on.
So you get some stuff like that. You get rake back or not rake. Anybody can get rake back technically. Um,
Oh yeah, I have rake back through your promotion
oh, nice.
from however
Yeah.
long ago that
Yeah.
was. How many years ago was that?
Yeah. That was a long time ago. And anybody can be an affiliate for ACR.
Right.
Um, but it's just a lot easier to sign people up as an affiliate when you're streaming and people come to your Twitch channel
Right.
and go,
Yeah.
"Hey, what site is that? I've never seen that before," or whatever. And you're like, "Oh, you can sign up right here." So you kind of get financially compensated that way as well.
Is that market not capped by now?
I
Kind
mean,
of.
it's definitely getting more capped, but it's not completely. Like, I mean,
There's
you
still
know,
are there still new people coming to your stream and being like, "Hey, what is this site?" Or like,
yeah. I mean, I don't know the numbers, and I guess maybe that's one thing I probably wouldn't share anyway.
right.
Um, but I can tell you that not a month has gone by since I've been a Stormer that at least somebody didn't sign up for ACR through my affiliate link. So
Oh wow.
over time that starts to add up to
No, that's
a little
awesome.
something.
I was just curious about like I just thought you were so big and that Twitch was so big that everybody probably knew by now.
Yeah, no, it's yeah, it's kind of it's
It's
into
like
the biggest thing for me has been like the community part. Like there's some nice things to the marketing and like in the financial side of things and stuff like that. But the biggest thing with the Stormers for me is that it's a very dedicated group of people who all hang out in the same streams every night. So
it
you
really is. When you go to like you were saying some of the core group like the Bet on Drew, the One Doll Geek,
mm,
you, even TSB, Poker Pastor I think is one.
yeah.
There's
Oh,
like
he was, yeah. But he still kind of has that. He has the spillover effect from. So he's not a Stormer anymore. But
oh, I didn't know.
when he
I just
was
meant
it,
how come he's not a stormer?
I don't
He's
know, to be honest. I never asked him why he It might have just been scheduling and stuff. Like maybe he couldn't do it because I know he went to do like the live circuit for a while.
okay. Well,
I think he traveled to do the
okay.
live circuit.
I just meant as far as like streamers go. Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I do know I do know a couple of people that are anti-stormers. You ever heard of them?
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me too much. And I think it probably I don't know this for sure, but I assume it comes mostly from people being upset that ACR keeps crashing and you know, like I definitely get, although I don't get many, but I do get some comments like, why are you repping this site that like crashed on Sunday for 3 hours or whatever? Like why are you promoting that site? And my answer is always pretty much the same, and it's two things. A, I own a poker website, although not a site you can play poker on, but I own a site in the poker community. And I can tell you that nobody wants their website to be up, running, and functional more than the person who owns the website.
For sure.
So, there's a lot of people who are like, oh, they're doing it on purpose for this reason or that reason. I'm like, do you know how much money they lose if they're down for 3 or 4 hours? Like heaps of money. Now,
More do they lose more money than they would lose on like a guaranteed that they're not going to make? Like
probably yes. And that's even if they wouldn't make a guarantee because if you watch, very few of their tournaments don't make the guarantee.
right.
I just played in their $1 million guaranteed on Sunday, this past Sunday, and it got I think $1,050,000 or something in the prize
Yeah.
pool.
I'm playing devil's advocate here.
Yeah, no, and I don't blame you. And people have asked that same question, but I would say they do lose more that way. Because they're all that rake goes away. So like all the people who played in the tournament have to
Right.
refund all.
And all the cash games too,
Yep,
right?
all the cash
Well, no,
games
wait,
are
no,
all
no,
the
no.
sit and goes.
Hold on. All the cash games never stop. Those always are going.
Sometimes they keep going. Sometimes they stop. It just depends on the strength of the attack. I guess I don't know much about the technical side, by the way,
Yeah.
but there have definitely been some times. Like there were times where you couldn't even get on the
Do
client. Like
you
nobody could even get on.
Is it cool if I grill you for a minute with just random questions that pop into my head?
Sure.
All right, first of all, I hardly ever play anymore. I just don't have not, I have no dog in this fight. These are just um what do you think about those attacks? Like sometimes they come at like kind of funky times and a lot of people yell conspiracy theory. Do you think there's a conspiracy theory when you see cash games going, but then like some of these big guarantees that aren't going to make, and then all of a sudden there's a DDoS attack, or there's a DDoS attack during a big series that's coming up? Do you ever get? Does ACR ever kind of tell you what's going on? Like, do you ever get secret info?
I don't get much secret info, although I have sat with Phil Nagy, the CEO of ACR, and talked about DDoS attacks face to face.
Yeah,
Um, so first of all, I don't know of any. There probably exist, but I would need somebody to show me like the time where there was a DDoS attack where a guarantee wasn't hit or
yeah.
something. You know what I mean? To know that happened. Like
That it was
every time,
intentional or something.
yeah, like every time I've experienced a DDoS attack, like all the tournaments were like normal. Like they were probably going to hit the guarantee, or maybe be like a little short or a little above. You know what I mean? Like they always seem to be pretty much there. So, but if somebody could say, "Oh yeah, on this date there was a DDoS attack," and they were about to miss the guarantee by 200 grand, I might be like, okay. But I haven't really seen that yet. Um, and it doesn't surprise me that it happens during big series because the reason that these DDoS attacks happen, and this is public knowledge. Phil has talked about this on podcasts himself. Essentially,
Boy,
the,
that
the
guy is easy to get riled up, isn't he?
oh yeah, he
He's
he's
something
he's
else.
he's pretty emotional to say the least.
He's the guy for all of us, he's like the guy that would be like kind of like the thugged out white guy at the 1-2 table that's
Yeah,
had like a couple drinks too many and
right.
he's like gone on a bad streak and
Yeah,
he's just looking for a reason to fight.
yep, yeah,
That's my intent.
yeah.
That's my interpretation of him.
Right. No, I think that's fair. Um, but the reason, so what they do is they essentially they do a DDoS attack. They shut the site down, and then they essentially contact the site and say, if you pay us X number of dollars, we'll let you have your site back. We'll turn your site will be running again.
That's what it is, huh? I,
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people exactly know that's what it is. I didn't know. So
Yeah.
it's basically a hostage situation, huh?
Mhm. Yeah, exactly.
Is it Russian?
And
Is it Russians?
they
Usually?
if they know, they haven't told me where they're from.
Probably those
But yeah,
fucking Russians.
Russia, Chinese, probably something
Yeah,
like that.
it's fucking Chinese. Dude.
Um, but they so it, and you described it perfectly as a hostage situation because much like in a hostage situation, you can't really pay the hostage takers because when you do that, they're just going to kidnap somebody else a week later. So they shut your site down and they say send us $50,000 in Bitcoin,
In
and they always
Bitcoin,
ask
right?
for it in crypto, of course.
Of course.
And you send them $50,000, they might turn your site back on that day, but they might come back tomorrow and do it again and be like,
Right.
send us
It was enough. Do
50,000.
it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you literally can't pay them. So all you can do is try to build up your security and make it better. And I always say to people, can you be angry at ACR for incompetence or an inability to fix this problem or to protect the site against these attacks?
Uh-huh.
Sure. Yes. You can.
Should people be mad at ACR for this?
I
It
mean,
hey, it happens a lot, dude.
oh yeah.
I don't play a ton, but I follow them on Twitter and shit, and you see it all the time. It
Yeah.
seems to happen quite a bit.
Yeah. I won't say that somebody should or shouldn't be mad at them. I will say that it's fair to be angry at them. Like
Okay.
I wouldn't criticize somebody for being angry at them. I tend to take a very approach, and it's not because I'm a stormer. If you look before I was a
I
stormer,
know that. I wouldn't say that,
yeah,
but
I
it's
never
not,
criticized them before that either.
no,
And
you
I
never
was
did.
I was also like I was never a big like. I mean, I never even went very vocal about like full tilt or anything. Like it's just not the way I do life. Like I just kind of go, shit, site crashed. Well, I guess I'll go get a beer or
Right,
go
right,
get some barbecue or whatever. Like,
right,
and a lot of people are like, well, why do you play on there if it's gonna crash all the time? I'm like, I'm an American, dude. Like
Where
I don't
else am I
have a
gonna?
lot of opportunities. Yeah, like I mean, would I like to have access to Poker Stars and Party Poker and 888? Sure. That'd be great, but I don't. So I put up with what we have and I make the best of it. I just try to have fun. And now it is also different for me because I'm not a professional poker player.
Right.
I very much play poker for entertainment value. So if I relied on poker for my income or on playing poker for my income, I'd probably be a little more upset about it. Like I'd probably be like, shit, I got rent to pay next month and the site's been down for 20 hours.
Right.
But that's not my situation. So I just kind of go like literally when the site well, here's the other funny thing. So I've somehow run so pure. Like you want to talk about conspiracy theories? People should bring a conspiracy theory about this. I would challenge anyone to find a time where I was streaming where the site went down. It just never happens to me for some reason. Like
Really?
I must be the good luck charm of ACR. The time where it happened a bunch, like in a week long stretch, like I think it happened every day for like a week, was the week that I was packing up my house to move and then driving across the country to Las Vegas. So I literally would see on my Twitter like, oh, ACR is down again, ACR is down again, but I never experienced it. And then it's happened, a bunch of times since I've been in Vegas, but it's always days I'm not playing.
Yeah.
So I think there was one time where tournaments paused for like 20 minutes and then they came back up and everything was functional. But like I just finished the OSS series playing, pretty steady for 4 or 5 weeks or whatever that was. And I don't think the site went down on me one time. I know it went down a couple of times, but it never happened to me. So
Wow.
so I always tell people like part of it is just like I just haven't really experienced. Like I might be more frustrated if I was sitting at my computer like mashing buttons trying to get myself
Yeah.
reconnected. But it's just never happened to me. Every time it's happened, I'm like I'm on a boat in Lake Mead drinking beers or something. I'm just like whatever.
Do you
So
are you as an ACR stormer, are you allowed to play on WSOP.com or other sites? Or
yeah, I
both
can play on
or
any
both?
yeah. Yep, I can play on any sites I want, and I stream those sites as well.
Yeah.
For the last 6 weeks, whatever OSS Cubed was, I've streamed exclusively ACR, but that was mainly because they just had so many good tournaments running that I didn't need any other sites to play on. But like I have a session, I'm playing a session tonight, and I already have Carbon Poker open and ready to start regging on there.
Oh, nice.
Um, I don't play on WSOP.com very much.
Why not?
Yeah, I had this big. I was so excited. So when I moved to Vegas, it had nothing to do with the fact that you could play legal poker here. But after deciding to move here, I was like, oh, that's cool. I can play on WSOP.com
Right. That'd
now.
be
That'll
awesome.
be great.
I think.
Yeah. Um, but I have this like actually, I am actually really am frustrated with WSOP.com. So you have to be able to geolocate in Nevada, right? So like they have to know that you're in Nevada, and the way they
Right.
do it is like through your IP address or your cell phone. Somehow they geolocate you. And I would say 10 times now since I've been here, I'll be 2 hours into my session on WSOP.com. I'll be streaming. Everybody can see I'm sitting in my house in Las Vegas playing poker. And all of a sudden I'll get an error saying you're not in Nevada. You can't play on this you can't play on WSOP.com if you're not inside the state of Nevada. And I'm like,
Is that because you bought your laptop or computer like in a different state or something silly like that? I wonder.
I'm not technically smart enough to know. And I've contacted
I have no idea.
yeah, I've contacted support and said, like what am I doing wrong? Like I can clearly register the tournaments and play in them for 2 hours, so I'm in Nevada. But then at some point it just decides all of a sudden I'm not. And they've given me like they say like restart your router and restart, but it's not that easy to do when you're streaming.
Right.
Like all of a sudden you got to shut down your stream, restart
Yeah.
your computer, restart your router, let it all start back up again, lose 50 viewer. So I literally just stopped playing. I haven't played a tournament on WSOP in probably 4 weeks because it's
That's
just
why it's like, why would you? Yeah.
yeah, it's just too frustrating. Like the
Yeah.
good thing is at least when ACR goes down, most of the time, all the tournaments stop.
Right.
So I can just like I said, grab a beer or eat a burger or whatever until it starts back up again. But WSOP.com, I just sit there and blind out and lose my money. so I just like I'm actually it's funny, but I'm more frustrated with WSOP than I am with ACR.
Oh wow. That's
So
funny.
yeah, I don't plan there, and I haven't looked at their schedule. I probably won't play another tournament on there before I leave Vegas, but we'll
Do
see.
you have plans of leaving Vegas?
Yeah, so wow, this is a crazy story, and I guess I never talked about why we moved to North Carolina or why we moved to Vegas, but the really short story is we just like to move around a lot. So we moved
Nice.
to North Carolina and then we moved to Las Vegas.
I
Um,
remember I heard you in I think I heard you in a podcast or maybe it was a different stream where you were talking about you guys up and said, "Hey, you guys sold or got rid of most things and said you're just going to go to Vegas and see how it is and if you don't like it, you can just go somewhere else again," right?
yeah, yep, that was exactly the plan. The main thing was is my wife wanted to sell our house because it was way too big for us, and we were just tired. She was tired of taking care of it, and
Right.
so I said, okay, well, let's sell the house, but where are we going to go? And she goes, I don't know. Where do you want to go? And we got talking about it, and at some point, she was like, well, would it be good for your business to move to Las Vegas? And I said, well, yeah, it would be. I said, but I can do it from anywhere. Like I don't have to be in Las Vegas. But if you want to go there, then yeah, it would, it would be mildly plus EV
Right,
business
right.
wise to be in Vegas. And she's like, all right, let's go to Vegas then. So we sold or gave away or donated everything we owned essentially. We have a small storage locker back in North Carolina that has like, photo albums and
Oh, sure.
like a couple guitars and just like things that I was like, well, I don't want to get rid of that. But basically, we gave
Right.
away, we
Yeah,
gave
yeah.
away a 4,000 square foot house of stuff. Like we just
Wow.
gave it all away or sold it.
Wow.
So now everything we own basically fits in my Jeep Wrangler. That's like because we drove across the country in two cars. My wife had the dogs in hers, and I had our belongings in the other. So everything we
Nice.
own fits in my Jeep Wrangler. But yeah, we kind of came here going, maybe we'll stay, maybe we won't, whatever. We actually made an offer on a house here, but they didn't accept our offer. So luckily, we don't own a house here yet. Um, and then I got an opportunity to be involved with a distillery, which is another sort of thing that I've always kind of wanted to get involved in. And the guy who owns the brewery that I used to work with started a distillery, and he kept trying to talk me into coming back, talk me into coming back. Um, what he'd be like, he'd call me every other day and say, "When are you coming back to Raleigh to work for me?" And I'm like, "I'm not coming back, man. I'm having too much fun." And then eventually he kind of coerced me and said,
Uh-oh.
you know, what if you could come back and do marketing just for the distillery? And
Uh-oh.
yeah, and you'll have, you can still do your TPE, you can still play poker, you can still go to Vegas every summer. Um,
You're going back to North Carolina?
so yeah, so we're it actually we just booked the date today. I can't remember what day. It's like October 30th or something. We're gonna get back in our car, drive back
Oh
across
no,
the
really?
and we're actually renting a house in a place called I think it's called Aberdeen, North Carolina, which is near Southern Pines, like where Pinehurst Golf Club is, or where
Oh,
Pinehurst is.
cool.
So a
Right,
big
right,
golf
right.
community.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Pinehurst, yeah.
so we found a house there to rent for 2 months while they build our new house in Durham, North Carolina. So
Really?
so we're literally driving back across the country, renting a house for 2 months, and then hopefully by Christmas we'll be in our new house in Durham, and
Are
I'll be slinging the bourbon.
How far away are you from where you were in North Carolina?
So our new house, well, where we're renting will be about an hour from our old house.
Okay.
Where we're building our new house is about 20 minutes
Oh,
from our old house.
Lopercon's gonna be so stoked. Have you
I
told him
know.
yet?
Yes, he is very happy. And I'm excited about it too. Like when we left, it wasn't ever because we didn't like that
Right.
area. It wasn't like it wasn't like when I left Michigan. Let's put it that way. Like we were just kind of like,
Yeah.
this sounds like a fun adventure. So I'm excited about it, but mostly I'm stoked to like dig in to the
Oh man,
spirits
I gotta
business.
say, I'm disappointed. I wanted to see a big. I wanted to see it go jet setting off into all kinds of corners of different of the country.
My guess is that will still happen.
Okay,
Like
good.
it's just a matter of where it ends up being. But my wife also works with a rescue back there, and I think she was kind of missing that too. So this is
Oh,
like
nice.
this is good for her too because she can go back and do her dog thing, and
Well, good.
I can do the whiskey thing, and I can still do all the stuff that I'm doing now. It's just different place. So yeah, it's gonna be exciting. It was definitely not planned, and it was so I keep joking that basically I just took a really long 8 month vacation in Vegas. That's what I keep telling people.
Well, that's kind of cool. I mean,
Yeah,
get to experience something new and then go back. It's like a restart button, like on the Nintendo. Hit the
yeah,
restart.
and it's been cool. Like I've met a bunch of cool people here and had a bunch of cool experiences. Like that's been the funnest part. It's always the funnest part about whenever we move somewhere is we just pick things to do. Like we've been doing some hiking, which I am not a hiker, but I've really enjoyed like getting out into the desert and up into the mountains and doing that. Spending time at the lake. We've been just going and checking out like really cool like old landmarks and stuff, and just basically just traveling day trips, like basically doing day trips, tons of day trips, and it's been a blast. It's stuff we would have certainly never gotten an opportunity to do, if we hadn't lived here for 8 months. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was gonna say you actually you can tell you look a little slimmer, like you've been
Really?
kind of. Yeah, you really
I'm
do.
glad to hear that because I told you I gave away most of what I own. We don't own a scale anymore, but I think I'm losing weight, but I'm not sure.
You look like it. Oh, you
I hope
look like you've lost some weight for sure.
I hope you're right.
Yeah,
When I finally get back to North Carolina, I'll weigh myself and I'll finally
nice.
know.
So we were talking about the TPE podcast earlier, the TPE live, and one of the good guests, one of the favorite guests, of course, is Big Dog Pocket Fives. I used to watch his stream. What and I know he's a friend of yours. What's that guy been up to lately?
So he's been
You still
he's still
talk
been
to him? You guys are buddies, right? Like you still stay in contact with that dude?
yeah, we talk every I'd say we talk every 2 to 3 days, roughly. He's
Holy cow, really? About what?
well, he's one of the owners of TPE too.
Okay.
So, a lot of it's business talk.
Okay.
But there's always a little bit of like, how's the family? What you up to today? Or we're both huge football fans, so we talk a lot of football.
Oh yeah, he's a Redskins fan and you're a Miami Dolphins fan, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. So we shoot the shit about football a lot. A lot of sports betting stuff. Like, I'll be like, hey man, I got a pick for you, bet this game or, or whatever. Um, but he's doing great. He still plays a decent amount of poker, but not nearly like he used to. Like, he used to
Okay.
grind. I don't know. He used to probably play 6 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week.
Yeah.
But he has 3 kids now.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he's married, and one of the kids is a I'm bad at judging ages, but I'll call it an infant, even though I don't know if it qualifies. It's a baby, like
Right.
like a baby,
Yeah.
uh, maybe a year old or something. I don't know. So yeah, so he's got the family. He's married. He just bought a house.
Or
He
built the house or something, yeah.
built a house.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think he's just like a lot of people like why aren't you streaming anymore and stuff. And I think he's just in a like every picture I see of him is him like at the park playing with his kids or in the pool with his kid. Like I think he's just loving
Being a dad.
life. Yeah, he's just loving dad life. So he grinds when he wants to or needs to, and the rest of the time he's just off doing the family stuff. And I guess it's hard to keep up with 3 kids when you're shotgunning beers every night, So he doesn't do that anymore, at least not regularly. I would
Right.
love to see him come back though, because he was certainly my favorite streamer of all time.
Yeah, he was a wonderful, wonderful streamer. I
Yeah.
loved yeah, and there was the controversy when he got booted off for accidentally having porn on this channel.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a classic moment.
And then the people loved him and made such a big noise, they got him back like 2 days later.
Yeah. He's really good at and this is kind of how I've always he taught me how to approach controversy, which is to embrace it and never
What have you had that was controversial? Anything?
no, I've never really had to deal with too much other than like I mean, like I get trolls in my chat and stuff like that, but I've kind of learned to just like roll with it, like make it fun, make a joke of it or whatever.
Right.
Um, we've had like small things on the TPE side, like Big Dog and Mark were both lock poker pros. So when lock poker went under, like we got some shit for that.
Sure.
But like when the when the Big Dog porn incident happened, so for people who don't know, basically Big Dog was playing poker on Twitch, then he shut his stream down, or so he thought, and decided he was going to watch a little porn. And he did. And then he realized, somebody texted him and he realized pretty quickly what was happening and he shut the stream down and turned it off. Fortunately, never pulled anything out or never got to that point. But like, I think a day later, he did a podcast or maybe a YouTube.
He did a
Well, no,
stream. He
I
did a
guess it was, yeah, it
stream.
was after he got his stream back. He did a stream with his wife
Yeah, yeah.
talking about, and she's like, "Of course, I know he watches porn. Everybody watches porn. Like, what's
Right.
the big deal?"
Mm.
And like he went on like a bunch of podcasts and talked about the incident, and he
Oh, that's right. He did.
and everybody was like, "Oh, some people say that you were masturbating on stream or whatever," and he goes, "I didn't." He goes, "I was
No.
going to."
Right.
He goes, "I was definitely about to." And he like, I think so many people would have been like, "Oh, I don't know, my Twitch got hacked, or
Right.
that was a pop up, and I was trying to get it to turn on." Like they would have fought it, tooth and nail. And he was just like, "Hell yeah, I mean, I love porn. You don't?" Like,
Right, right.
and so it just like went away, like it just disappeared into thin air, like immediately. There was like no blowback, and not that there really could be, because it's not like it's illegal to watch porn or anything. I mean, you can't do it on Twitch,
Yeah,
obviously.
everybody pretends that they don't do it, but geez, I mean, come on, it's a billion-dollar reason,
Right,
billion-dollar industry. You're telling me you don't watch porn? Get out of here.
right,
Get out of
yeah,
here. Somebody's seen it.
yeah,
Everybody here have seen it. You might not be addicted to it, but we've
right.
all freaking watched it.
Yeah. And it was very clear in watching the stream that it was an accident. Like it was, he didn't do it on purpose or anything like
There
that.
are those.
So
Have you seen some of those streams where they accidentally watch porn?
yeah, just to get the views
Yeah, and it's
or to
always
get
some like,
YouTube hits
it-
or whatever.
yeah, it's like some chick that's like a 6.5,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
she's
I'm
like
like, oh,
a
sure.
Twitch 9.
Right,
She
right.
throws some pretend. Oh, I accidentally got caught masturbating.
Yeah,
Don't watch this. Oh,
right,
and don't donate to me. Get the
right.
some of that shit just drives me nuts. Some of
Yeah.
those crazy chicks on there. It's
And
the
then
only
they're always like, by the way, here's a link to my cam site if you want to pay for the real show or
right, right,
whatever.
right.
I'm like, oh, okay, I see how this happened.
Oh my gosh. So I am divorced fairly I've been single for a while now, and you start getting out in that single game,
Yeah,
and I try those some of the dating apps as you would. I mean, it's
sure.
where you got to start. Where else you going to start? If you
Yeah,
go single, where else you going to start?
yep. I'd give it a
Listening.
try. Yeah,
Anybody, email me. Holla at your boy. If you like your boy Rhino here, Rural Route 23, however you know me, hit me up.
yep.
Ladies, I'm single. Uh, so I've been trying those sites out, and you see a lot of that shit on there where there's like these younger chicks on there where they're like, oh, I don't do this site that much, but if you check me out here and donate, you can have nudes. It's like a
Right.
lot. It's like, geez, have some. I matched with this chick the other day, and she was like, "Oh hey," she called me daddy. "Oh hey daddy."
That's always a bad sign.
Right. It's like, oh fuck, right, right. I'm not that much older than you. She goes, "Hey, if you would like to donate, hit me up here and we can go from there, maybe have dinner and I can send you some pictures." I'm like, I was like, "Who pays for this?"
Yeah.
I go, are there really dudes out there paying for this kind of material out there? And she kind of got offended. And she's like, "Well, look, you don't have to be a douchebag about it." I go, "All right." And then I text her back, "Your father must be proud."
It sucks because I kind of like in a way I want to respect the hustle.
Right. I'm not mad at us. I'm just giving her shit.
Yeah. Like like yeah, go for it, build your brand. I it would be unfair.
If that's your brand, you've got a very short window. You might as well
Yeah.
capitalize on it.
And there's just got to be better ways. Like I don't know. I obviously I'm not on any dating apps, and I haven't dated in a long time. But
I would swipe right on you and I would date you, KB.
yes, yes. I just feel like there should be some like a code of honor, on the dating site. Like if you're on the dating site, you should be a real person that has and hey, you can use filters and stuff, but an actual picture of you. And yeah, if you want to filter it up a little bit, that's cool. And don't be redirecting me to your like porn site, like those are
Right.
sort of the three things. Like that's all. Other than that, like you should actually be available to date.
You want would you we are I don't know. I don't have this lit up. We're pretty deep into this podcast. And people who are listening are the hardcore Neanderthal podcast listeners or the hardcore KB listeners.
Yeah.
You want a little insight on the dating world out
Yes,
there for a pimp?
I do.
Okay.
Because I know nothing.
So, not many people are going to hear this. I can feel comfortable talking to you about it. So, there's a couple websites, a couple apps out there for the single life. Tinder, there's one called Bumble, there's one called Hinge, whatever. KB, I'm 38 years old. And I was single for quite a while. Kind of before, like I started doing the dating thing before I got married, but it was like in its infancy. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
it was like
Like
my
Match.com or
my
something.
this was MySpace days. Like
Oh wow. Okay.
my wife, my ex-wife now, I met her on MySpace.
Oh wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, she actually hit me up. Anyways, so it goes anyway. So I've been single, or I was married for a while, mostly that kind of whole boom, the whole dating app boom, and now I'm in that dating game with
Yeah.
those apps, dude. It's a fucking freaky world out there, bro. These chicks are fucking not all. There's some freaks out there, bro. You would not believe You would not have to believe the shit that's going on the streets out there.
I can't even imagine. I,
It's
I I think I'm kind of afraid to know. Either
yeah.
A, because it'll disgust me, or B, because it'll make me want to get on a dating app immediately.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. Stay away. Yeah, if you're gonna go on, if ladies and gentlemen, this goes to both ladies and gentlemen. If you are gonna get on one of these dating sites, you better get prepared. You better prepare yourself because it's happening. There's some
Wow.
freaks on there and shit's going down. And there's some. It's a whole nother world out there, dude. And here it is. So hmm. You're wow, you're even older than me. I feel like I'm usually the older guy, and you're even older than me. And you look young. You look my age. Man, I want to grab. I would love to have beer with you one on one.
One of these days it'll happen, guaranteed. I don't know when or where, but it will happen.
Yeah, I'm actually. Yeah, I may or may not come out to Vegas fairly soon.
Nice.
Um, damn it, I forgot where I was going. Fuck, something about this is crazy. It happens, dude. It's crazy out there. I guess is what my point was. Um,
So
eh,
are there normal people on these sites too? Like
okay.
have you gone on dates where it's literally like a lady, or a woman or
Yeah.
a girl
Yeah, yeah,
who's
yeah.
like, oh yeah, I'd like to have a coffee and then like maybe
Actually,
go to
yeah,
dinner.
that's the thing. There is that's the nice thing. I have met some really cool chicks on there that are like super normal, and I've had like some really cool like to this day I'm still like friends with them. I talk to them, I text them, um, and like have built like a cool friendship. But then there's some other people out there that I don't. Okay, there was this one chick. You don't know who you're gonna meet up with. Like catfishing is real, bro. I've been catfished before.
Really?
Oh man. So there's this dime piece blonde. She was significantly younger than I was and just like dimed out, had like 4 or 5 pictures, just smoking hot. And I was like, hey, look, I'm super busy, but I have this time open. Let's meet at this local establishment. She gets there way before I do. Um, And she's like, "Oh, hey, I'm already here. I'm at the bar." I'm like, "All right, I'm walking in now." I'm looked right through this one chick. I looked through her and she's waving at me. I'm like, "No, no, no, not you, lady. I'm not looking at you. I'm looking
Right.
behind you. I'm looking for," and she's like, "No, it's me." She goes, "Ryan?" I go, "Melissa?" She goes, "Yeah." She goes, "Didn't you recognize me?" I go, "Uh, I guess the lighting's a little bit off in here."
Oh man.
Oh my god, this chick looked like a fucking troll from like Disney, from like a Disney cartoon. I mean, seriously, she was like, I don't know, 5'1", 4 foot wide. It was brutal. And
So
like
she just used somebody else's pictures? Or she like
oh,
filtered them up so much that she just looked
no,
manageable.
I think she used somebody else's pictures.
Yeah.
It looked like like her face, like it was blonde with long hair, but clearly I was like, you look significantly different than your pictures. Oh, she goes, really? Most people think I look even better than I picture. I was like, no. I was like, let's go ahead and have a drink and then I'm gonna get out of here. Is that cool? She was like, oh yeah, yeah, that's cool. And so I bought her a drink and got the hell out of there.
Oh man. You see, I don't think I could. It would only take one of those instances to ruin it for me. I would just be like, I'm done. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna be single for the rest of my life.
Yeah. But then you get the good ones. Then you get
True.
the good. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
telling you, man.
I guess that helps you get through the bad ones, right? You're like, oh, but remember that gun? I'll give it one more shot.
Right, right. And that's just some well, I'm not gonna go all dirt bag on the audience here, but there's sometimes that can make you just know, like actually where you just meet like someone cool and genuine. Like I've met a couple females that have just been like um I don't want to say hippie, but like they've just got like this almost like this weird energy where like you can feel like yeah, you just feel like a cool energy from them and like develop friendships. So like I've
Right.
developed some cool friendships and it's not going to go anything further from that, but
Yeah. But that's
yeah, they're
cool
just
though.
cool people. Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
it's just all about experiences and life and
Yeah.
It's a whole other chapter, man. Like divorced, being an adult at this age is a whole another chapter, bro. Let me tell
Yeah.
you,
I can only imagine.
whole another chapter.
I'm not ready.
All right,
So
so did you kind of start your empire at 37? I'm calling it your empire, by like TPE and like was that kind of like the beginning of like KB
yeah,
International 30? Were you like 37, 30,
yeah, yeah. 36, 37, somewhere right in there.
and you're 48?
I'm 46 now. I
Well,
keep
so
forgetting how old
10
I
years, so
am.
you got a decade of being a kingpin.
Yeah, yeah. Because we started. Well, I guess TP is coming up on 9 years, so right around there though. Because we
30.
started building it, 9 months before it launched or whatever.
All right.
Um, so yeah, basically about 10 years. And
Wow.
I had done a little, like I had gotten a little taste of entrepreneurship, a very small taste. When I first left the music business, my friend and I started a record label, and we released one album, one 7-inch vinyl. So basically two songs.
Killingbird.
No, it was a completely different band, unrelated to me in any way, just like a random
Huh.
band. Um,
But you were
but
in a band called Killingbird that made a
I
song.
was in a band called Killingbird.
I
Yeah.
downloaded it on iTunes.
Oh, nice.
I bought it for like $1.29.
That's awesome. I love that. That means I'll get a royalty check for like a penny or something.
Oh,
That's
I did this like a couple of years ago.
I already got it then.
Yeah.
um, but we after we started it, I then got into doing the TPE thing, and my buddy was like, "Oh, I want to keep this going. Like, what do you want to do?" And I said, "Just take, just have the record label. Like, you don't have to pay me anything. You don't have to buy me out or anything. Just it's all yours." And that label's still going, which is pretty cool. But that was kind of my first taste of it. But I didn't quite. By then, I'd already kind of mentally checked out of the music industry, so I was ready. I was ready to move on to poker at that point. So yeah, TP was the beginning of my empire building.
Right. And that was at 36, 37. And
Yeah,
that's
right around there.
so if you were to make a suggestion to like say somebody that's like 38, fairly recently divorced, maybe looking to expand his horizons. Not me speaking, asking for a friend. What would you suggest?
I mean, the biggest thing. I mean, obviously. So yeah, what I would do is different than from what I would suggest people do. What
Oh,
I would
really?
suggest people do is build up, like literally do everything you can do to save money until you get a nice enough nest egg that you can live for a year
Oh, wow.
without without incoming money, and then quit your job and spend a year trying to build your dream business or whatever it is.
Wow.
What I would do is not save up a nest egg. I would quit my If I hated my job, I would quit today and I would start building my empire right now. And I would do whatever it took to make that happen, meaning if I have to like sell my house or my car or all my possessions or move into an apartment with three other people and share an apartment so that my rent is 250 instead of 1,000 or whatever, like I would just do that. But I don't necessarily suggest that, and I certainly don't suggest that to people who have kids and a family and stuff
But
like that either.
that would be an excellent suggestion for someone who is like maybe 19 or 20. Really? That's the time
Yeah.
to do it, yeah?
Oh yeah. I mean, because you basically just have nothing to lose. You know what I mean? You can just go for it.
How
And
was New York? When you reflect on the time you were in New York, do you
fantastic.
reflect it as like some of the best times of your life?
Yeah, it was amazing, especially considering how broke we were. Because
Right.
like you could only experience life in its purest form because you couldn't pay to go to a concert or pay to go to a Broadway show or to see a sporting event.
There's a weird thing about that I hope if there's any like I don't know what the age range would be, maybe like between 18 to like 20, 21, 22. There's like that sweet spot where like
Yeah.
do whatever it is you possibly think of or want to do, and just remember that these are like some really great times in your timeline of life, and
Right.
you need to really take advantage of these. Like if anyone's listening in that age range, capitalize, do the craziest shit you can possibly think of. This is the time to do it.
Yeah. I think in most, not maybe not in most, but in many cultures or many countries, that's a normal thing. Like people finish high school or whatever you call it in that country, and they take a year off, and
Yeah.
then they go to university, or they do university, and then they take a year off, and then they get a job, and they take that year off to like travel or volunteer or all the things that do the crazy shit like you said. Um, and it's really sad that in America that's not like a thing that you're pushed to do. Like
It's
you're
like
literally
you, yeah, it's
you're
before you even graduate high school, they're already telling you what college are you going to get into.
right. And you have to have a college education or you can't get a job. And it starts so young. It's like I remember parents of kids my son's age who were like, sixth grade, this is a big year. You got to get really good grades. It's high school next year. Nobody cares what grades you got in sixth grade. Nobody cares what grades you got in seventh, eighth, ninth,
I
10th,
don't even
11th, or
remember
12th
what kind
grade.
of grades I got back then. Yeah, right.
No. And, like, yeah, you need good enough grades to get into college, but that's it.
But that's a
And
C. That's a fucking C. That's showing up.
exactly. Yeah.
You show up, you can get into college.
Right. And then when you finish, and then you get to college and like, oh, now the grades really matter because you're in college and you have to impress your employers. Well, you know what? You don't. They never ask you what grade you got in marketing 101. They just want to know that you got a marketing degree.
Right.
So like, you're sort of like you're pushed from a very young age forward so fast that you like never your parents never say to you, "Why don't you take a year off and just chill? Just go enjoy it. Travel the country and go to a brewery in every state for the
Hey
next year."
man, you have a kid that's in college now. You have one son and he's in
Yeah.
college now.
Yeah.
Did he take a break in between high school and college or did he go straight in?
He went straight in, although I kind of encouraged him. I won't say I encouraged him not to do that, but I did tell him that that was okay.
Yeah.
Um, but he kind of got my entrepreneurial spirit. So he started his first company when he was 15, I think.
Oh, nice.
And he was a YouTuber. He made Minecraft training videos, which is weird. Like he basically did what I did, but for Minecraft instead of
Oh,
poker.
that's hilarious. How did that work out for him?
Great. Like he was. I think he's got. I don't even know. I think he's probably got 40,000 subscribers on YouTube,
Wow.
and he hasn't really done it in a long time. Once he went to college, but he was kind of like me. He really wanted to get to college because then he could meet the people that like to do the things he likes to do. Because his friends in high school weren't necessarily like that. Like they weren't really into like content creation and making YouTube videos. And he's really into cars, so he's like into like taking car pictures, and so he has like a big following on Instagram for his car pictures
Oh,
and stuff.
cool. Cool.
Um, so for him, the thing that he really wanted to do with his life was go to college, um, to kind of do that whole experience. But now he's finishing a semester early, so he's gonna finish up in December, and his girlfriend doesn't finish for another semester after that. So he's kind of I think he's gonna treat that semester in between him graduating and his girlfriend graduating as sort of his time to go like do stuff.
Okay.
So I don't know what he's gonna
That's
do,
cool.
but
That'll
yeah.
work out. Are you going to give him any kind of suggestions?
I mean, I've kind of done that all along, but my push has always just been like enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah.
And like he stresses out about his grades and stuff all the time, and I'm always like, my wife and I have this saying, C's get degrees. So
Right. That's
yeah, we're always just like, hey man, C's get degrees. That's all you got to do. I think he would like to do like so he with his YouTube money, he bought himself a Ford
Oh shit.
Mustang when he was in high school.
Wow, he made money off YouTube to buy a Mustang.
Yeah. And he also built his own. So I don't know a lot about Minecraft, but he basically built his own server,
Right.
which he explained to me as the equivalent of owning your own poker site, basically. So people would
Wow.
come play Minecraft on his server,
Wow.
and they could buy things and stuff. So they would like, he would get these like PayPal payments for like $25, and they would get like 5 diamonds or whatever. I don't know anything about the game, but
Wow. So
something
he
along
like
those lines.
so like when you were saying, "Hey son, I've got this Twitch channel, check how many viewers and followers I have." He was like, "Oh yeah, that's cool, dad." That's cool.
Yeah. And the funny thing was, is like he knew about Twitch way before me because he was a gamer and I was never a
Right.
gamer. So he knew about Twitch. Like I was like, yeah, I'm gonna start streaming my poker sessions on this new thing called Twitch. And he's like, I've been watching Call of Duty videos on Twitch for the last 2 years or
Wow.
whatever, you know.
Right.
And he tried streaming on Twitch for a while too, but he didn't really enjoy it, so he kind of gave up on it pretty quick. Um, but I've always pushed him that direction to just, like I said, that whole the cliche "do the thing you love" concept,
Right.
But I think he gets it. He's a really hard worker. He's kind of similar to me. Like as soon as he was old enough to work, he started. He's worked all the way through college. He like
Sure.
skips every holiday so he can get overtime,
Oh
but
man.
he's just excited to like get out of college and start building whatever his thing is going to be. And I keep telling him like it doesn't have to be anything glamorous. Like it's funny. His job through college is he's been a manager he started out as a whatever, just an employee, but now he's a manager at a car wash, like one of those fancy like
Oh,
detailing
nice.
shops,
Good for him.
which isn't like no, like I don't think very many parents say, I hope someday my son grows up to work at a car wash.
At
You
his
know what I mean?
age, with being in college, that's pretty dope.
Yeah, it's just it's a good, easy job, or maybe not
Right.
easy, but it's a job to get your way through college.
Right.
But he started to say things like do you know how much each car wash costs? And he's like, like the high end detail is like, or not detail, but like the most expensive car wash is like $28 or whatever the number. I don't even know, but whatever the number is.
Wow.
And it might be 12. I'm completely making up numbers, but
Whatever. Yeah. Yeah.
it's some number. You go, you know how much that costs in equipment, manpower, and like supplies, or like soap and stuff? He's like 28 cents or
Oh,
whatever the number. Like he just knows the number because he's been working
right.
there for 4 years. So they,
Right.
he's learned all this stuff. He goes, maybe I should just buy a bunch of car washes or like start my own car wash or something. And I'm like, there's no shame in owning a car. Like owning a
I
car wash is exactly the same as owning a tournament poker trading site. They're the
right.
same thing.
The only thing I think you're supposed to be, I think you're supposed to be some kind of drug dealer if you own a car wash.
Yeah, you're probably right. He'll be washing money too before.
Right, right.
before
Yeah. I don't think they let just anybody get in the car washing game. I think you got to have a little grease underneath your
yeah,
fingernails and
you
that.
might be right. But I keep telling him like if that's the thing that you like, because he is very in the car, and he's always sending me pictures like, oh, look at this car that came through the car wash today. Like
Nice.
that's his thing. So I'm like, hey, if that's what you decide is your passion,
Right.
buy a car wash. Hell, I'll invest because I know what a hard worker you are. And he always has these like really cool marketing ideas. You know what I mean? Like he's like, yeah, my boss didn't ask me to, but I grabbed a bunch of 10% off coupons from the car wash, and I took them to the car show with me this weekend, and I just put them in everybody's windshield
Oh,
wipers.
nice. Nice.
And I'm like, or like he'll like people will come through, and he'll like have them like take pictures of their car with the logo of the car wash in the background. They're
Oh,
like,
there you go.
he'll
Nice.
like, man, make sure you throw that up on Instagram. Use the hashtag,
Right.
Sam's Auto Wash or whatever, so I can see it. So I'm always like, even though he's running a car, he would be maybe owning a. I don't think he's going to buy a car wash, by the way. It's just a
Right.
conversation we have.
Right.
But I'm
Right.
like, I think what he's more excited about is not really the owning a car wash; it's the marketing a car
Right.
wash.
The
It sounds cool.
entrepreneurship of the whole
Yeah.
thing. Right.
He's like, man, I have all these ideas. I know it'd work. Like, it would bring so many more people in, but I don't have the power to do it or whatever. I'm like,
Absolutely. Yeah.
like if you own your own, you can do whatever you want. He's like, I would have car shows in our parking lot, like invite people to come there and like show
Oh,
off their.
that would make sense. Yeah.
So I don't know what his thing is going to be, but whatever it is, it's going to be something along those lines, probably cars and marketing and social media stuff.
Right.
So I'm excited to find out, though. I'm hoping he makes enough money that I can, ride off into the sunset. And
You can't do that already.
I mean, I probably could if I really wanted to.
Right.
I would have. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not I'm not rich. I would have to cut. I would have to live pretty lean for the rest of my years. I could probably pull it. My wife works too, so that's kind of cheating. But I don't know. I'm just not sure when that would be because I still enjoy it too much right now. But I also can't imagine myself being like 65 and still doing my podcast or whatever. or like
Oh,
on Twitch. Like, am I gonna stream on Twitch when I'm 65? Like, I don't think
yeah. I always wonder. I always wonder about that. About like, do so do you listen to podcasts at all? You do,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
What do you listen to?
So I'm kind of weird. I mostly listen to podcasts, either marketing podcasts. So like I listen to Gary Vaynerchuk's podcast. There's one called Entrepreneurship on Fire that I like listening to. I listen to podcasts about making podcasts, which is probably kind of weird.
Oh yeah, that's cool. What's it called?
There's two of them. One is called Podcast. No, it's not called Podcasting for Dummies. It's called. I can't
I'm
believe I'm
so
blanking on
sorry.
the
I
name.
put you
It'll
on
come.
the
It'll come
spot.
to me in a second. I'll be like, oh, by the way, that podcast is called. God, I can hear his voice. I'm your podcast coach. Anyway, there's two bigger ones that I tend to listen to. I'll either think of it or I'll send you a link at some point. And I listen to poker podcasts, of course, and I listen to DFS Daily Fantasy Sports podcasts, which is kind
Oh,
of weird.
nice. Yeah.
That's kind of, and then every once in a while, like my wife will like she'll like you have to listen to this one called Serial, or like
Oh,
the ones that are
Syrian's great.
yeah, the ones that like everybody listens to. Like
Right.
I'll give them those. I listen to some music ones. There's one called Labeled, which is about the record label that I worked at before I left the music
Oh,
business.
cool.
So they just tell like behind the scenes stories and stuff about back in the day at the
Yeah.
label. So I listen to that, but I don't listen to many big ones. Like I don't listen to Joe Rogan.
You don't? Why not?
No. I don't know exactly. I think because I have focused, a very narrow focus of what I like to do. So like all it would take for me one time is like turn on Joe Rogan and he has on like I don't know some guy that I don't know a Bitcoin expert or whatever, and I would just
Oh,
stop
he
listening because
he
I have
does
no interest.
he does have a Bitcoin expert.
Yeah,
But then
or like a
but then the
UFC
next week,
guy or
yeah, well, the next week he could have on an astrophysicist on there or something.
right. And so like if somebody sent me one and said, "Hey, oh well, actually, you know what? I have listened to Joe Rogan before
He's
because Gary Vaynerchuk was on there. So
oh,
like if
was it?
somebody sends me all of a sudden goes, "Dude, you got to check out this Joe Rogan episode. There's he has this entrepreneurship guy on, or this marketing guy, or this beer guy, or poker," then I'll
He's had
go
a
watch it.
he's had a poker guy on.
Yeah, I think he had Ike Haxton on, right?
Yes, that's who it
Yeah,
was.
and I think I watched that one too.
Yeah.
But I would never be a regular listener because, like you said, all of a sudden it would be the astrophysicist or the UFC guy or the guy who owns a cleaning company, and I would just be like, okay, I'm out.
Oh,
I'm
really?
tuning out.
That's not your thing.
Yeah, like I have no attachment to Joe Rogan,
Yeah.
even though but when I've watched him, I know he's a good interview and
Yeah.
or a good interviewer and all that stuff. But if it's not a topic I care about, I just can't get into it.
Okay, that
It's
makes
kind
a
of
lot
like
of sense. Yeah.
sort of like with books. It's why I don't read. I only read nonfiction books
Oh,
and
really?
almost
Yeah.
exclusively business marketing, social media type books. Occasionally, like I've read a couple of like books from guys who were in Vietnam or like just random things like that. But I haven't read a fiction book in probably 20 years.
Yeah, it's hard. I've recently kind of stopped reading. I used to love reading fiction, but now I've been finding so many nonfiction books that are so awesome. And
Yeah.
it's like, wait a minute, this is crazy enough that this actually happened. Why am I going
Real.
to read about some fake shit when some crazy real shit actually did
Yeah.
happen that I can learn about?
Right. And I have read some nonfiction that I've enjoyed. I think the last nonfiction book I read was I think it was called The Long Walk.
Oh, I've heard of
It,
that one.
it was by Stephen King, but he wrote it under a different name. And it's basically about a bunch of kids who have to walk, and if you go under 4 miles an hour, they shoot you. And I always thought it would be an amazing movie. But I think that was the last fiction book I've read. It's just never been
They
my thing.
they did make a movie about that. It was called Speed.
Yeah, basically, right. The car version of The Long Walk.
That's
But yeah,
funny.
I find I like my time. Like I find my time to be so limited.
Right.
So I basically wake up, I do TP stuff all day, and then I start my Twitch stream, which I have to do in 20 minutes, by the way.
Yeah, we
Um,
can wrap this up.
um, and then I stream all until 1 or 2 in the morning, and then I do another 2 hours of work or so. on TPE stuff. Then I go to bed and I just get up and do it all again. So there's not a whole lot, and I fit in like my favorite TV shows, and beyond that, like I don't if I'm not if I'm reading a book, it's a book that's going to help me do those things, not one that's going to be about an astronaut that went to Mars or something. You know,
That's
like,
all. No, I respect the hell out
and
of
that
it.
is not to say that there's anything wrong with fiction, or and I would probably would read fiction if I just had more time, but I
No,
just don't.
I don't think anybody would take offense to your statement there at all.
Yeah, there's probably some people who are like, oh, I hate nonfiction. You know, and that's fair. I understand that too, but
Yeah.
it's just my thing.
No, I'm right there with you. Um, yeah, I don't. Yeah, I think we went probably a little bit longer than you thought.
It was fun though. I'm a bit of people will really realize I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to this whole chasing your dream thing all the way through to like entrepreneurship and social media. Like it's what I pretty much think about 24 hours a day. So like if you said, "Can we talk about this every day?" I'd probably say no because I know I couldn't do it
Right,
time-wise.
right.
But if I had the time, I'd probably say yes because I enjoy it that much. And I don't think I'm really an expert at it. Like I could never run a course on social media. I just have the I just have all the heart. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
I'll spit like I'm sure you did too. Like you taught yourself how to podcast, right? Like you were like, "Oh shit, I
Oh,
don't know.
I
Like what? How do
I'm
I record now?" You
I'm
know?
teaching myself. There's so much stuff I have had to teach myself. It's insane.
Yeah.
If
But
I
it's
if
fun as hell learning, right?
It is. It's like I've told a couple people now like how many I've spent ungodly amount of hours trying to figure this shit out because I knew absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And it would feel like a job, like it was hard work, but it's never felt like work. This has all been fun. Like I love watching the YouTube videos. I love learning how to add a song, an intro song, and then
Right.
clip it here and then put like I love learning this stuff. It's a
Yeah.
lot of fun. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's so much fun. And it keeps you relevant in terms of what you can do, like way beyond what most people are. You know what I mean? So like if like for yourself, if a year from now you finally are like, I'm gonna pull the trigger, I'm gonna quit my job or whatever, I'm gonna go for this passion. Well, whatever that passion is, all this stuff's gonna help you do it. You know what I mean? Like, so if you decide, you're gonna start, I don't know, a TV show, or you're gonna, I don't do podcasting full time, or do a golf, be the golf guy or whatever, you can literally just decide to do that by turning on the microphone and hitting record and start the journey.
I would love to. I mean, a couple. My dad. One of the reasons. To be honest with you, KB, one of the inspirations and motivations behind this podcast has been you. And
Wow, thanks, man.
yeah, and like no bullshit aside, like just seeing your work ethic with your Twitch stream that I've been following. I've been with your Twitch streams since the beginning.
Yeah, I would say very close to day one, if not day one.
Yeah, because I was listening to you before you even started Twitch. I was listening to your podcast,
Yeah,
and I was super stoked when we started Twitch. Um, and so like you're one of the inspirations, and just like I appreciate everything you do, and it's really helped me go forth with this and helped with this podcast, and I appreciate you doing this for me, and yeah, I can't believe you're on this podcast. I appreciate you being here. I thank you so much, and yeah, I hope one day that I can. I'd love to get in the position where you are, where I can just be like, "Bye bye, work. Here I am.
yeah.
I'm a podcaster now."
You'll get there. Just set the plan and put the plan in motion. That's the key.
Yep. Right on,
So,
man.
well,
I've
yeah, and thanks for the kind words, man. It's super humbling, and it is what keeps. It's what always has made TPE and everything else I've done like super worth it. Is when I'm like walking, running through the Rio, and I'm kind of pissed off because I just busted a tournament or something, and somebody's like,
right.
"KB, I listen to your podcast all the time, man. Big fan." And I'm just like,
Nice.
things are okay. Things are, yeah, I
Right.
just busted that tournament, but life's gonna be just fine.
Man, oh man.
So,
I could keep talking to you forever, but I don't want to take all your time.
well,
Again,
we'll do this again in a few months, and we'll start with the next topic.
yeah, that'd be dope, man. I'd really appreciate that.
Awesome.
Again, I thank you so much, everybody. Check him out on another guy that's I've had on Twitch. It's Killingbird.
Yep, twitch.tv/killingbird.
Yep.
You can find me there, and I'm on Twitter and Instagram and all that stuff as well. So,
Hell yeah. Follow him, dude. Again, like I can't tell you seriously, dude. Podcast aside, like, well, this means a lot that you actually took the time out of your day to actually be on this podcast with me and to like I've followed you like you are involved with my greatest stream in the history of my Twitch streams. It's like that really set me off on the Rust rocket ship of going from Twitch streaming to podcasting and just like I owe you a lot, man. You don't even know. I hope I
Cool.
can see you one day and I hope I can buy you some beers. And you're the man. I appreciate you and I thank you for everything you do, man.
Awesome. Can't wait to have that beer, brother.
Oh yeah.
All right.
All right.
Cheers.
Bye.
Take it easy, man.